play with lions. I don't play with those. I don't even do roller coasters. Wow.
Well, hello. Welcome to the Young Turks. Cenk Ugranik is pairing with you guys. We've got Representative Tom Massie on the show today, coming up in a little bit. Obviously we're going to talk about his race. His race can be summarized in one simple phrase: Israel versus America. Massie, in this case, representing America, and some random cutout Israeli asset representing Israel. So it really could have been anybody. And by the way, as you'll see later in the show, it really could be anyone. The guy's a total mystery. He doesn't say anything about his life.
He says a little bit about his life.
Yeah.
His sealed records in regard to his participation in the Navy SEALs, how he doesn't believe the American people should know anything about the Navy SEALs, his lust for war, his desire to bring the draft back to force Americans to fight Israel's wars. If he wins, believe me, Israel's getting their money's worth.
Oh, no question.
Yeah.
I mean, is so shrouded in secrecy, though. Like, it made me think, did you do some weird secret project for the IDF, and that's why you don't want us to find out who you actually work for? Anyway, he's going to work for Israel. There's no question. There's a bunch of, well, but to be fair, most of Congress works for Israel. All right. So later in the program, Bill Maher demands that you wish happy birthday to Israel. If you don't, you're an anti-Semite. All right, I'll save my thoughts for that a little bit later. Iran. But it's Taco Monday today.
Don't say that.
Okay,
Come on, Cenk.
I know.
Don't fall prey to that dumb talking point because it goads him into more war.
Apparently it doesn't. But anyways, so we'll explain why the war was on again and is off again for like a minute, and who, of course, who he's taking orders from. So a lot to get to, Anna.
By the way, when I say don't say taco to Trump, it doesn't mean that I don't find him to be a coward. I'm just saying it's not a smart idea to mock him for not kinetically attacking Iran again. That's all I'm saying. I don't want leftists to think I'm like supportive of Trump because I said that.
Okay.
Anyway, let's get to updates on Iran actually, because we've got plenty of them. Let's watch.
The Middle East remains on edge, waiting to see if the war will resume in the days ahead. Overnight, President Trump taking to Truth Social with a new warning for the regime. He said, for Iran, the clock is ticking and they better get moving fast or there won't be anything left of them. Time is of the essence. The president's post comes as reports indicate the Iranians have submitted a revised proposal to Pakistani mediators aimed at addressing some of the gaps in their previous response that President Trump described as a piece of garbage.
Did he? Well, Trump continues issuing threats toward Iran as peace efforts have so far failed. The most recent news, though, is that he was planning to strike Iran again kinetically as soon as Tuesday of this week, but has since said that he is postponing his scheduled attack. We'll explain his reasoning behind that and more in just a moment. But first, Cenk, it's unclear how reigniting kinetic war with Iran will accomplish a damn thing, but what are your 2 cents?
Yeah, so most important thing here is, as always, are we going to restart the war and when? So Trump is now saying we were going to do it tomorrow. Is a weird thing to say, but he says we're not doing it anymore. Is that even true?
Exactly.
So we'll talk about that. But one of the things we want to show you here is how the Israel First crowd is pumping up the war.
Right.
Right. So that's going to be pretty evident. Let's hear the details.
Well, as you heard from Trey Yingst, Iran shared its latest peace offer or negotiation terms to the Trump administration. They sent it to the United States through Pakistan, which is kind of mediating these peace talks. However, a Pakistani source, probably to be diplomatic, said that both sides keep changing their goalposts. Now, Iran has been very clear and unwavering in what they demand. So I don't know exactly what they're referring to, what the Pakistanis are referring to when they say that Iran is moving the goalposts. That's why I say I think this was just meant to be diplomatic and not put all the blame on the US side. But the US certainly has moved the goalposts multiple times. So for example, the US first said that Iran cannot enrich any uranium at all, including for medical reasons or energy purposes. Now the US is apparently showing some flexibility on enriched uranium. What? But at the same time, they're saying that they refuse to ever unfreeze all of Iran's assets. They would consider unfreezing about 25% of Iran's assets in later phases of the peace talks. Additionally, the US will not pay reparations for war damages caused by the US and Israeli militaries, and they refuse to lift sanctions on Iran ever. Why would Iran agree to that, especially after the US and Israel have lost this war? Over the weekend and into today, Trump has issued more and more of his signature unhinged threats toward Iran, including in a statement to Axios, which reads that Trump said that the US will hit Iran much harder than before if they don't come up with a better proposal. The clock is ticking. They better get moving fast or they are not gonna have anything left, Trump stressed. So another threat to just wipe out Iran from the map, I guess. But in response to Trump's threats, Iran's foreign ministry spokesman, Ismail Baqai, says that Tehran is continuing to pursue diplomacy with seriousness, but the Islamic Republic will not be subdued by contradictory behavior and threats from the opposing side. We are fully prepared for every scenario. In the event of any reckless action, we will respond with full strength, and I assure you that our armed forces will definitely have new surprises for the enemy. And there were some mysterious attempts over the weekend, in my opinion, to purposely escalate war. For instance, there was a drone strike at the UAE's Baraka nuclear power plant on Sunday. The drone attack damaged an electrical generator outside the inner perimeter, according to the UAE Defense Ministry. The UAE, by the way, hasn't officially blamed Iran for it. So we don't know if it was Iran. It could have also been, they think, Saudi Arabia. It could also possibly be Israel. We don't know yet. But Trump has said that he received a request from Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE to hold off on attacking Iran. Apparently he was planning to do so tomorrow, Tuesday. And CNBC reports that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and Joint Chiefs of Staff General Dan Kane should still be prepared to go forward with a full large-scale assault on Iran on a moment's notice in the event an acceptable deal is not reached. And just real quick, prior to this news coming out, Cenk, it's important to understand that the Iranians were expecting an attack by the United States. This is according to Trita Parsi and what he reports in his Substack piece. He says that Trump appears poised to reignite war with Iran. Press reports indicate that he will convene military advisors on Tuesday. Sources in the Iranian capital tell me they expect the United States to resume hostilities within the next 48 hours. And Parsi also highlights how much of a loser move this is, and I wholeheartedly agree with his analysis here. He says, quote, "We should first recognize that restarting the war amounts to an admission that Trump's previous escalatory gambit, the blockade of the blockade on the Strait of Hormuz, of course, has failed. That in turn was itself an admission that the war had failed, which was an admission that the threats of war in January had failed. As I have argued before on my Substack, this relentless search for an escalatory silver bullet capable of bringing Iran to its knees is not unique to Trump. It has become a defining pathology of American Iran policy for decades." And so before we get to all of the devils that are outweighing the angels on Trump's shoulders when it comes to questions of peace and war, Cenk, what do you think?
Yeah, in a little bit, we're gonna tell you what the American voters think too, and it's not good. So is this a head fake because the Iranians knew the attack was coming on Tuesday? So we say, oh, we have decided not to attack them. That's totally possible, so the attack could be tomorrow. But if it's a real delay, he's saying it's because the Gulf countries don't want us to attack. That's weird because just a couple of days ago, I was in a debate where the Israelis were saying, oh, we would only want to redo this war because Saudi Arabia and UAE want us to do it. Apparently not. Oh, the Israelis lying. That's got to be a first. But now that gets us to the main event here, which is the Gulf countries don't want this war. The American voters don't want this war. Iran doesn't want this war. Europe is having gas issues. Asia's having gas issues, shortage issues, inflation issues. None of them want this war. So it is literally the entire planet versus Israel. So the rest of the planet does not want the war, and Israel does. And Anna thinks it's 100% likely that Israel will beat the world and get it exactly what they want, no matter what anyone else on the planet wants. I have it at about 95% chance. And
what's giving you optimism? Tell me about that 5%, Cenk.
Yeah, and the reason why, Anna, is because I constantly double check myself, quadruple check myself. So I sound confident on air, but I'm constantly rethinking, is it true? Do the facts match my perspective and the pattern? And so what I'm given pause by is, even though I think the markets are crazy, they appear crazy to me, they're absolutely convinced that there's almost no chance of war.
Who's convinced?
The markets. Right?
I know, but the markets are insane and are not really a good indicator.
No,
of reality.
I hear you. I hear you. That's why I don't have it at 50-50 or anything, but they have it 95-5 or 100-0 that the war is not going to restart. So
can I tell you what? I had a conversation with a Wall Street analyst, okay, who I just happened to know personally and ran into the other day, and I was just curious what his thoughts are on the markets versus what's happening on the ground with this war in the Middle East. They are convinced that we have powerful people within our country right now and people in the Gulf working around the clock to find an alternative to the Strait of Hormuz.
No, but that's not wrong. They are doing that.
They are doing that, but there isn't one. He's convinced, remember, he's a Wall Street analyst.
Right.
He's convinced that the alternative exists, they're working on it, and we're gonna have the free flow of oil and gas before you know it.
So why do I only have that at 5%? Okay, you can think about it that way. The reason why I have that as such a low probability, but not impossible, is because yes, there are people, smart people all across the world working on an alternative. In fact, they have a discussion of a US-Bahrain deal that they're trying to get votes for in the United Nations. So it's not like people aren't working on it, and it's not like the entire world isn't against restarting this war. They are. That's why the markets and reasonable people look at it and go, I mean, the entire world wants this war to be over. So obviously it's gonna be over. And what they're wrong about is, no, the influence of Israel is greater than the rest of the world's influence combined. Now, since this is such a stark difference, and you see we're at 95 to 100% that Israel is politically stronger than the rest of the world combined, and the markets say, no, we're crazy, and no way the rest of the world, Israel, that sounds like a crazy conspiracy theory. Israel's a tiny little country. The world is obviously a billion times stronger. So now you're gonna get to see with your own eyes who is right and who is wrong. And so don't tell us that Israel doesn't control anything if we're right about this.
But also, guys, the other thing to keep in mind is it's not like, I mean, get crazy conspiracies or things like that out of your head, because there is no conspiracy. It's happening right in front of you, right? Israel isn't like magically hypnotizing people. Like, that's not what's happening here. Israel understood that they can buy our politicians. The United States remains a superpower. The United States remains a military superpower. However, because of our relationship with Israel, our influence internationally, globally, has been decreasing, right? Because now you have countries that we have launched economic warfare against through sanctions, working together to find loopholes to the international financial system that the United States and the Western world relies on. And so when you talk about the BRICS countries, they're growing in influence and power. I know Americans in the Western world wants to deny that, but it's just the truth. So when it comes to Israel, it's not like there's something super spooky at play. No, they're buying our politicians and they're doing it out in the open. I mean, that's all it is.
And what we're about to show you, because they also are all over American media, and what they set up is this fake version of reality where Israel is a beloved friend and victim, and the Palestinians and the Iranians, etc., are all murderous terrorists, etc. So that's why when I tell you about my trips to Washington, because they live in the other reality. And so They also think we're crazy, and they think, oh no, the war's not gonna continue. It doesn't make any sense to continue. Literally, no one wants it to continue other than the Israelis. So they've drank their own Kool-Aid, thinking the Israelis don't have that much power. Even as almost every member of the Republican Party, minus Tom Massie, votes with them. And whenever they need it, any Democrat they want votes with them every single time, because most of the Democrats are also bought off by the Israeli lobby. They see that reality and they go, no, they told me on cable news and in the New York Times, that's an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. So I'm going to ignore the evidence of my eyes and ears, even though we could, as Anna pointed out, literally all see it on TV.
Well, ignorance is a choice if that's what you choose to do, but the reality is the reality. The other, aspect to this is, I mean, if you're being blackmailed by a foreign country because they have videotapes of you doing some pretty disgusting and potentially illegal things, is it gonna be easier to pressure you to go along with what the foreign country demands? Just asking, just a question to ponder on just for a little bit. But let's move on to the people who are in Trump's ear right now, because it's important to know who's influencing him, and more importantly, it's important to do pattern recognition when it comes to the pro-Israeli talking points, because they love to roll them out and they all love to say the same things at the same time. Why don't we start with Senator Lindsey Graham, who was on Meet the Press this past Sunday.
So what happens next? I think we hit a wall on deal making. I would encourage the president look at reducing Iran's military capability even further. They've been dramatically weakened, but they're still targets that could weaken them more militarily. And I would also keep the embargo on to weaken their economy. And I'd let the Iranians know if you keep terrorizing the region, Cargill Island, which is your source of revenue, will be in play. I think it's going to be very difficult to get a deal with the current regime. Is there any evidence they've changed? I talked to the CIA director yesterday. Is there any evidence that the crowd in charge now is any less committed to destroying Israel, going after us, the great Satan, purifying Islam? I think the answer is no. The energy infrastructure is their soft underbelly. If you go back to the fight, I'd put energy on top of the list.
So you're calling for strikes on the energy infrastructure, Senator?
I'm calling to hurt this regime.
Okay, so there you have it. Senator Lindsey Graham would like your gas prices to increase further by limiting the global oil supply and targeting Iran's oil infrastructure. By the way, Iran has made abundantly clear that if their oil infrastructure or if their civilian infrastructure is attacked, they will retaliate by attacking oil and gas infrastructure in the Gulf states, which would be a global disaster of epic proportions. But Cenk, your thoughts?
Yeah, so when Israel puts out a talking point, they all say it at the same time. So Rick Scott, Senator of Florida, came out and said the same thing as Lindsey Graham. Jack Keane, a former general, now a sellout traitor to this country, working for defense contractors and probably for Israel, said, oh, we gotta attack now. And then another talking point they're all putting out at the same time is, the longer we wait, it's a campaign of deception and delay for the Iranians. And my guess as to how they came up with that talking point is Israel was like, hey, we should do a pretend ceasefire where we keep bombing them, just like we do in Gaza and Lebanon. And that way that could be a campaign of deception and delay for us. Oh, that's a good idea. Why don't we say the Iranians are doing what we're doing, deception and delay? Why don't we say the Iranians are doing what we're doing? Oh, they could have weapons of mass destruction like we do. Oh my God, they're terrible terrorists that kill innocent civilians like we do. So that's probably where the talking point came from.
Of course.
But the reason that they say that is because they're like, don't delay Donald Trump, don't delay America. Oh, that is only helping Iran. No, you have to attack right now, exactly when Israel orders you to attack.
So Trump also had a phone call with Benjamin Netanyahu on Sunday, and we can all assume that that phone conversation had to do with pressuring the president to reignite kinetic warfare against Iran. And then to your point, Cenk, you're absolutely right. In fact, we have a video of General Jack Keane on Fox News, kind of giving the American people a glimpse into what to expect now that the only people who seem to have the president's ears are individuals like him. Take a look.
Where are we? The president has exhibited a huge amount of patience here since the ceasefire on April the 8th. And we've tried to work a deal with these guys, and it just doesn't seem possible. And where we are, we're on the cusp of going back into military operations. When we stopped, Bill and Dana, we had 2 weeks to go, a little less than 30% of the targets. Those targets remain, but we have better intelligence now. after these 5-6 weeks. So that target list is expanded. It's considerably more comprehensive. It'll be a combined operation with the United States and Israel going full throttle, all out, no half measures here whatsoever. And when those target lists are complete, and they will consist of the rest of the weapons that are remaining, to indicate some of what you just mentioned, to include what remains of nuclear.
Unbelievably ridiculous. Look, my favorite part of that video was the B-roll that they're playing, the footage they're playing right beside General Keane, which shows all these Iranian women without headdresses on. Shocking, right? You would think that they're all like wearing head to toe head coverings, like you can't see anything. Anyway, Cenk, these people are lunatics, and it's amazing that that's a general, because as he knows, there is no way to win this war militarily. But he's gonna go for it anyway. He's going to give the president this kind of advice anyway, just setting him up for failure. And Trump is stupid enough to use that advice.
Yeah, so look, we definitely didn't want this war. We definitely don't want the war to continue. We think it's an epic disaster. So that is 98% of the story. The 2% silver lining is, if Trump does what the entire planet is not expecting, right? The markets aren't expecting, no one is expecting, and he does what Israel orders him to do, reignite this war, the collapse will be so epic that Trump will be completely done politically, and the Republican Party will be in absolute tatters. So it doesn't matter how unpopular the Democrats are, and they are still very unpopular. The Republicans now are becoming so deeply unpopular that they're almost unelectable. The gerrymandering that they did might actually hurt them, because they now have districts that are a little bit less safe. And now things are swinging in double digits. So let me just give you some American voter data, because it's relevant to this. Right now, congressional ballots that were close to even for a long time, even though the Republicans kept sinking. Well, the dam is broke. Now the Democrats have an 11-point lead in a congressional ballot, generic one. And guys, the context for that is not small. That is, in that type of polling, is a gigantic lead, because different races have a lot of variability, but the overall Democrats versus Republicans in the congressional ballot racing doesn't have a lot of variability normally, and almost never gets to double digits. So the Democrats having a double-digit lead is amazing. Only 32% of Americans think that we're on the right track. Disaster. 3/4 of independents are against Trump now. Only 32% say that we're going in the right direction. 28% say that they approve of Trump on affordability. 28%, largely driven by the fact that the war has driven up all these costs. And let me give you one graphic here. Do you think Trump's decision to go to war with Iran was the right or wrong decision? Americans in general have it at 30% right direction, 64% wrong direction, which is disastrous. He's down to 70% support on the war for Republicans, and I've never seen Trump that low with Republicans. And among independents, he's down to 21% approval on the war. Kiss those congressional elections goodbye. If he restarts this war, it could be an epic landslide like we haven't seen in a long time in 2026.
All right, we got to take a quick break. When we come back, we've got more to get to, including Bill Maher's smears toward the American people who failed to wish Israel a happy birthday. We'll be right back.
All right, Jonathan Ayala writes in on Twitch, I'm ready for Cenk to spit some hot fire. We'll see if that happens. This tiny bit of yelling on Piers Morgan this morning, and I lit into Bill Maher already over the weekend. Check that video out too. But we got the receipts tonight. That's the great thing about the live show. Art Guy says, this is on TYT.com. I woke this morning full of vim, vigor, and pep, yet I still only have 27% of Cenk's energy. Well, I appreciate your sentiment on that. Bloated Ego says that recording of him says it's all for Israel and he doesn't care about Americans' finances, should be played around the clock. That would be a smart move by the Democrats, but okay. Yeah, he literally said, I don't care about America's finances, and he literally said, we are doing this war for Israel. So, I mean, if those aren't in ads, well then the Democratic Party also works for Israel. Oh no, they won't be in ads. Anyways, Jenks Tricep, they don't care about America's financial interests, guaranteed to be in ads. Jenks Tricep of Fury says, damn, Cenk working the phones to get the reps from Congress on the show. And then I lost that quote right in the middle of reading it. Okay, so let's go to some blind ones. Scott Smith writes in on YouTube member section, TYT is the greatest news show in the history of time and space. Well, thank you, Scott. Appreciate that. Mark Francis writes in, I personally think Trump is going to declare victory and leave. Call it taco or whatever, it's a good thing. Look, I would love for him to leave and declare victory. I'm not sure that's gonna happen. Faye Scott Smith says, hey Anna, hey Cenk, I hope you're both doing well. My family and I listen to you every night, so do our neighbors. I blast you on speaker. Go
nice.
Get him, Faye, I like it.
I like tacos.
All right, back on TYT, Cenk and Anna with you guys. Also, Sid Light 365, thanks for joining. We appreciate it, brother. He joined through YouTube. He's just hitting the join button below. Everybody else can do it through YouTube, TYT.com/join. In fact, that's where Jacentena, just did a contribution. We really appreciate those donations, given that we're besieged by the Israeli first crowd. We definitely do need it these days, TYT.com/join. But we like to do you guys a favor back. So we try to find great sponsors for you guys, including Shopify. So if you're doing a shop online at all, we've already tried them all, and we think Shopify is the best. They've got these ready-made templates. They've got marketing ready for you. They got emails for you. They got international shipping ready for you. And they have this great shop pay button that's like iconic and makes checkouts 1 billion times easier. So we're super happy with them. Well, that's who we use for shoptyt.com. So sign up these days for $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/TYT. That's shopify.com/TYT. All right, Anna, what's next?
All right, let's get to our next video. But you have a difficult time at least acknowledging the atrocities that have been committed against innocent civilians in Gaza.
Well, it depends on what you call an atrocity. All wars are going to have atrocities.
A double tap on a hospital? A double tap on a hospital? So when the first responders show up?
I don't know exactly what you're talking about. I vaguely remember the thing.
Right.
Yeah, first of all, that's an old terrorist trick. That's what they do all the time.
Okay, but are you at least gonna acknowledge that the IDF doing that was wrong?
Yeah.
As you can probably tell in that short clip, Bill Maher tends to turn a blind eye to the treachery of the Israeli military and government. There he was playing dumb with me and pretending as though he knows absolutely nothing about the atrocities committed by the IDF. And 6 months later, turns out his latest monologue proves that he's learned absolutely nothing. Now, before we get to that monologue, which his audience clearly did not find interesting or funny, Cenk, your 2 cents.
Yeah, I love the way the audience hated this segment. And he had a couple of Jeb Bush moments that we'll tell you about. Please clap. It was wonderfully humiliating. But there's 2 things I want you to focus on here. One is the brazen lie, which we'll explain that he did in the middle of the segment. And the other is the giant omission from the whole segment. The way that he ignored the elephant in the room was amazing. So Anna, give us the receipts.
So we can't play the actual video for copyright purposes, but I'm gonna read word for word what he said while showing you some footage of what the Israelis did in Gaza and the West Bank, just to juxtapose his statements with the reality of the Israeli state. With that in mind, let's get right to it. Here's what he had to say in his monologue. Since yesterday was Israel's birthday, having become a nation on May 14th, 78 years ago, everyone must either wish her a happy birthday or admit they're anti-Semitic. Enough with hiding behind Israel or Zionism or Netanyahu. If you think, as so many do now, that when it comes to human rights, Israel is the monster country of all time, you either don't read or don't care about your own hypocrisy because there are so many worse places. People talk about Jews these days like something out of Stormfront, except it's not Stormfront. It's an editor from the American Prospect, which is a venerable liberal publication that launched the careers of journalists like Ezra Klein. By the way, I checked, at no point has that publication said anything negative about Jews. They have been critical of Israel, though. I continue with his statement. He says, and yet no one blinks when one of their editors says Israel is a brainwashed psychopathic death cult that might need to be nuked to save the human race. People say the left and the right can't agree on anything these days. Well, there's this one thing they agree on. Right-winger Tucker Carlson has Nick Fuentes and Holocaust deniers on his podcast and wonders along with them who really was the bad guy in World War II. And the New York Times has on their podcast super leftist Hassan, who they call a progressive mind and who says Zionists should be treated the same as Nazis based, which I assume means hung at Nuremberg.
Why do you assume that? Anyway, keep going.
That's what progressivism is now. So we really could someday soon have the tiki torch, the Jews will not replace us crowd, and the queers for Palestine people working together to elect the next Hitler. Democrats, where are you? If any other minority group was being talked about this way, you'd break out the kente cloth and have 10 benefit concerts. But because you see that so many of your brainwashed by TikTok constituents now have an unfavorable view of Israel, you indulge them when you should be correcting them. You don't tell your woke idiots Israel isn't a colonizer or an apartheid state or committing genocide. And if your brats had to spend a week anywhere in the Middle East other than Israel, you would understand what liberalism is not. So I wanted to show you that footage because at no point in his monologue did he address Israel's crimes against humanity, namely the leveling of Gaza, the slaughter of nearly 73,000 Palestinians in the Gaza Strip, likely more. We don't have an official death toll count because there's still thousands of bodies trapped under the rubble. He didn't address any of that stuff. He just makes it seem as though criticism toward Israel amounts to anti-Semitism, and no one could possibly have any substantive reason for attacking Israel, such an angelic country that only does good in the world, right? Except, let's take a look at this quick screenshot for you. This is from Dropsite News's latest reporting. With no equipment allowed into Gaza, Palestinians are digging with their hands to retrieve the dead. Oh, fascinating. Okay, so if you're curious what the death toll currently looks like in Gaza, I've got updated numbers for you. Israel has killed at least 857 Palestinians in Gaza and wounded more than 2,500 in near daily attacks since the so-called ceasefire, bringing the total toll since the start of the genocide to nearly 72,800. But we're not quite done yet, because remember those bodies that are trapped under the rubble. Between 8,500 and 10,000 bodies remain buried under the wasteland of Gaza. Only 771 bodies have been recovered since October, according to the Ministry of Health. That's because the scumbag Israelis won't allow equipment into the Gaza Strip, so these poor people can find the remains of their loved ones that remain trapped under the rubble. Finally, many bodies may have disappeared forever. Palestinians killed in areas like Sujaya or Bet Hanun that have been completely razed by the Israeli military may never be located. So I'm curious, Bill, if your family was slaughtered by a foreign country and their remains were trapped under the rubble for literally years, or you find out that you'll never find the remains of your family members because the foreign government razed the entire area, disposed of the remains, and sorry, you'll never get closure. You'll never have the remains of your family members back. Would you be hateful if you were critical of that foreign government? Would you? He is such a disgusting hypocrite and a smug prick. Back to you, Cenk.
Okay, I have a lot more. So first, in that bombing that Anna's referring to, a baby that was 40 days old was killed, another baby that was 8 months old was killed. Over 1,000 babies have been killed by Israel in Gaza. So if you're pro-life, and a lot of good, consistent, principled pro-lifers like Tom Massie and Marjorie Taylor Greene have pointed that out as well, and saying this is not a pro-life position. They're literally killing I mean, 1,000 babies that they murdered by bombing. And
I guess they deserved it, right, Bill? They deserved it, didn't they? Those babies, those dirty Muslim babies, right, Bill?
Yeah, but for people like Bill Maher, they don't view those as human babies.
No, he doesn't.
Like he thinks that's no big deal.
Yeah.
They were just in the way of our bombs. And if you kill somebody with a gun or a knife or with your hands, that's just terrorism and terrible. But if you incinerate them with a bomb, that's perfectly fine. That's humane, and
you're giving him,
it doesn't count.
You're giving him too much credit. Even if the Israelis were killing them with knives, he would find a way to justify.
Oh, of course, the Israelis are viciously raping their hostages
with dogs,
and they all say, "So what? Who cares? I don't believe it. I choose not to believe it." Even though the Israeli press is reporting it, the New York Times is reporting it, it's corroborated. Look, there's only one of two things: either they think, no. The Palestinians just aren't human. We don't care about them. If that was 1,000 Israeli babies, they would say it was the worst thing that's ever happened since the Holocaust. I mean, they said that over about 1,100 to 1,200 people. There was 36 kids killed on October 7th. We said that was horrific. They say, okay, good, we agree. The 36 Israeli children killed is terrible. The 23,000 children killed in Gaza, not important.
No,
not important.
Cenk, I love that you brought that up because when I went on his podcast, I brought up that point, worded differently. But I said something along the lines of, when Hamas carried out what they carried out on October 7th, we condemned it. But why can't you? And when I said we condemned it, he's like, oh, wow, big deal, so hard to do.
Well, why don't you do it?
But he can't condemn atrocities committed by the Israelis because you're right. He doesn't see
them as human.
He doesn't see them as human. I'll give you some more headlines from the weekend, Bill, so you can understand why people are critical of Israel instead of just smearing individuals, strawmanning them as these disgusting anti-Semites, when in reality, they actually care about humanity. They care about human lives. Israeli military kills 14 Palestinians in Gaza over 3 days because of course they do. It continues constant attacks even during a so-called ceasefire, right? So the other question I have for Bill is the entire international community anti-Semitic? Because it turns out ICC prosecutor, this is a headline from Israeli paper Haaretz, ICC prosecutor asks for arrest warrants for Israeli officials, source says. According to a diplomatic source, the warrants would be centered on 2 Israeli politicians and 3 IDF officials. Gee, I wonder who the politicians are. Bezalel Smotrich, Itamar Ben-Gvir, disgusting, genocidal disgraces, okay, to humanity. I don't know who the IDF officials are gonna be, but we already know that Yoav Gallant, former foreign minister, foreign military secretary or whatever he was, he already had
defense secretary.
Defense secretary, there we go, that was the word I was looking for. Yoav Gallant has an ICC warrant out for his arrest. Benjamin Netanyahu has a warrant out for his arrest. Is it because the international community and the International Criminal Court are just anti-Semites?
Yeah, of course he thinks that. He thinks the whole world is anti-Semites.
What a clown.
And that's because...
Okay, then I guess the ICC's warrants for the arrest of Hamas officials should have just been disregarded, right?
No.
Not
Dirty
credible.
Muslims.
They're not
Dirty
credible.
Muslims.
They're not credible.
You have to hate the Muslims.
Yeah.
I'm so concerned about bigotry.
Right.
I mean, Bill Maher is such a joke. So let's break it down a little further. By the way, 14 Palestinians have been killed in the last 3 days. So now it's 871 Palestinians murdered by the state of Israel since the ceasefire, because they never listened to a ceasefire. And then the minute a Palestinian throws a rock towards Israel, everyone in our press, including Bill Maher, is like, vicious, savage terrorists, kill them all, right? Because, but he's throwing a rock towards a precious Israeli, whereas your Palestinians are worthless, right? Now, here's a guy talking about bigotry, like everyone's a Jew hater, right? There's no reason to criticize Israel. We just showed you the videos. They destroyed 90% of Gaza. Netanyahu just bragged that they've stolen over 60% of Gaza and are never going to return it because it was always about land theft for greater Israel. But Bill Maher goes, I don't see it. I'm a moron of epic proportions. I don't know the news at all. HBO just hired me to do Hasbara. They pay me millions of dollars to do Israeli propaganda and not the actual news, because apparently Bill Maher has never read a news story in his life. He has no idea what's going on in Gaza. He has no idea that they displaced 1 million people in Lebanon. He has no idea that got us to attack Iran for their purposes? He has no idea that we spent $8 trillion on the global war on Israel's neighbors?
He loves it.
Either you know nothing about the news, or you know it and you're purposely lying to your audience, and that is, of course, much more likely. Look, Zionism is a cult, and you could still have perfectly good people inside a cult, they're just misled, right? So, but in the cult, they teach you that Israel can never do anything wrong. The whole world is anti-Semitic, they hate you all. You have to strike first, and you have to label everyone an anti-Semite. And if anyone dares oppose Israel, Israel can never be wrong. Don't ever do introspection. Don't ever look inwards. Always attack everyone, and say they're Jew haters, and then try to destroy their lives.
Yeah.
And so that's what Bill Maher gets paid a lot of money to do, to try to destroy anyone who objects to Israel, and most especially Muslims, as he then ironically turns around and goes, I'm so concerned about bigotry. That's why I want you to hate the Muslims. You see how dirty terrorists they are, and it's a good thing we murdered them, right? Right, Bill? And then you ask us, after you murder our families, to wish Israel a happy birthday?
Fuck. Okay.
Okay, why? Why do we have to wish Israel a happy birthday?
I'm not gonna wish. It's a genocidal country. I have no respect for that government. Their military commits atrocities on a daily basis. Okay, so Bill Maher can suck it. That's how I feel about Bill Maher and his demands of wishing a foreign country a happy birthday. Anyway, by the way, did you wish the United States a happy birthday? Did you monologue about that bitch? Anyway, let's move on to one other thing he said that really tells you everything you need to know about Bill Maher. I'm gonna read you a quote from his monologue, okay? And he had something to say about Randy Fine in an attempt to appear fair, although it's anything but. Now, there are absolutely horrible things said about Muslims too that should also be, of course, roundly condemned. Like Congressman Randy Fine saying, if they force us to choose, the choice between dogs and Muslims is not a difficult one. That's awful, but it's not the same as they need to be nuked and let's exterminate them. Except, Randy Fine has suggested nuking or exterminating the Palestinians. Don't believe me? Hey, all those producers that make those nice salaries, I guess they were too busy to research this, huh, Bill? GOP congressman, let's put it back up. GOP congressman calls for nuking Gaza like US did to Japan. If you're wondering where I got that headline from, it's from the Times of Israel, actually. It's from the Times of Israel. And in case you don't believe me, he even said it on camera. Take a look at this.
In World War II, we did not negotiate a surrender with the Nazis. We did not negotiate a surrender with the Japanese. We nuked the Japanese twice in order to get unconditional surrender. That needs to be the same here. There is something deeply, deeply wrong with this culture, and it needs to be defeated.
Did you really mean to say that the US should use nuclear weapons against a people because there's something wrong with their culture?
Nuking Gaza would be a terrible idea. The fallout would drift into Israel. It would kill the hostages. The point that I was making was,
but you're not worried about it killing, for example, women and children in Gaza who, the innocents?
I think war is a messy thing.
I think your entire existence is a messy thing. Now, there's more. In fact, here's another one from him. This was a post on X. May the streets of Gaza run red with their blood. He posted that on October 7th, 2023. He also said, Representative Fine on how to deal with mainstream Muslims, quote, I don't know how you make peace with those who seek your destruction. I think you destroy them first. There's more. Palestinian is just another word for demon. He posted on February 23rd, 2025. And then, oldie but goodie, I guess. This is from 2021. Someone had shared a photo of a Palestinian child buried under rubble, dead baby. Supporting killing innocent people and babies and smearing voices that fight against genocide for some AIPAC money says a lot about your character. You should be ashamed of yourself. How do you sleep at night? How does he respond to that? Quite well, actually. Thanks for the pick.
Yeah.
So Bill Maher, you're a really deeply immoral, disgusting person. You think that you're better than everyone when in reality, the so-called terrorists that you warn against, you're actually warning about your own character.
So
but go ahead.
Yeah, two things about Randy Fine real quick. So that's such an over-the-top lie by Bill Maher that someone at HBO, if any standards exist at HBO at all, should ask him, are you completely ignorant of the news and hence we shouldn't have you do a news program? Or did you lie on purpose to try to trick people into supporting your favorite country? So because this is weird, you're either stupid or a liar, and there is no third choice in this regard. Because Randy Fine is over the top, and everybody knows he's over the top. It's like you would have to try to miss all the news to not know that he called for nuking Gaza, he called for starving the Gazans to death. So he says the Palestinians are another word for demon. Now, if someone said that about Jewish people, what do you think Bill Maher's reaction would be?
Who cares?
Or if there was a Jewish baby buried alive in the rubble, and some congressperson said, okay, thanks for the pic for the dead Jew baby, right? What would Bill Maher do? He would burn down everyone's house. He would say, anti-Semites, right? And rightfully so, and I would join him. But when it's Palestinians, Bill Maher goes, who cares? I'm not even gonna tell my audience. I'm gonna deceive all of them. I'm not gonna mention a single crime of Israel as there are hundreds, literally tens of thousands slaughtered, a stadium full of children slaughtered, but I'm gonna deceive my audience. But if you criticize me, it's okay. I have the immunity idol. I just call you an anti-Semite. I don't have to tell the truth. I don't have to, and the audience was the most uncomfortable silence you've ever heard in your life. And 2 times he had to go, ha ha, like when a joke happens and they don't laugh. He's like telling them to laugh.
Yeah, the only joke was him. That's okay. That's the only joke on that screen.
You know, Norway's birthday was yesterday. Bill, did you?
Happy birthday to Norway.
Happy birthday to Norway.
Happy birthday, Norway.
No, wait a minute. Yeah, and I'm really. Go ahead and
cry about it, Bill.
No, hold on. I didn't know that Bill Maher was a vicious racist against Norwegians. How could you have betrayed the Norwegian people this way? Do you see the sense of entitlement, you lunatic? Why does the rest of the world owe Israel a freaking happy birthday? Are you insane? But the entitlement is, we are the rulers of the world. You all bow down and wish us a happy birthday, God damn it. Otherwise, you're all anti-Semites. When you call your entire audience anti-Semites, when you call 80% of the Democratic Party anti-Semites, 61% of the country anti-Semites, did it ever occur to you, you megalomaniac, that maybe you should look inward? That maybe 80% of Democratic voters aren't vicious haters of Jews, that maybe you're the vicious hater of Muslims and don't mind their babies being massacred. But you have no soul, you have no compassion, you have no morality. You're one of the most indecent people to ever be in American media. And all you've ever done for the last 2-3 decades is be one of the most vicious bigots in America. Muslims are bad, Muslims are savages, Muslims are terrorists, kill them, kill them, kill them. If anyone said that about Jewish people, you would lose your mind and you would demand that they be fired. So are you demanding that you get fired? No, because you love bigotry against Muslims. You sick racist. And by the way, apparently HBO executives also deeply racist against Arabs and some vicious bigots against Muslims. They pay Bill Maher millions of dollars to spread that kind of propaganda, to get people killed and to be pro-genocide. So, I mean, I guess if you have, I loved HBO, their regular shows, but I guess I gotta cancel it because HBO is telling us we love genocide. We will pay this genocide denier to lie to our audience millions of dollars to help beloved Israel commit more genocide and take more from Americans, as we have Bill Maher smugly telling the great majority of Americans, you're Jew haters. The problem isn't Israel. You're the problem for not listening to Israel and not hating Muslims enough. That's exactly what you look like, Bill. That's why even your own audience hates you.
All right, Thomas Massie is next. We'll be right back.
We've been on our phones too much. I feel like we just need to touch grass or something.
I told you. I mean, you know what? Let's actually do it. Let's touch the grass. Whoa. Andrew Yang? It's not racist, right? It's him.
Yes, it is I, Andrew Yang, out here giving money away as usual.
Wait, but literally?
Do you use a phone? Noble Mobile will cut your wireless bill in half every month, and you get paid even more if you log off, look up, and touch grass.
Oh, I actually have some grass if you...
I don't think that's the kind of grass.
Not that kind of grass, unfortunately.
Whoa, wait, what the...
Whoa.
I guess that kind of grass works too. All grass works.
All grass and we get cash?
Wait, did you see that, babe?
Noble Mobile, make it rain, girl, make it rain, make it. That didn't rain so good, but now it's raining good.
Corruption, injustice, the system is rigged against you. Every day we're blasted by a flurry of terrible news from every angle, which can make it challenging to stay positive and know how to fight back. The Damage Report is your solution. I'm Johnny DeRola, and my daily morning show cuts through the noise and exposes the real damage being done to our country, the world, and how we can fight back against it. Corporate greed crushing workers? We'll name names. Politicians selling you out for their corporate overlords? We've got the receipts. Climate disaster, economic collapse, the rise of fascism. No spin, no establishment talking points, just the truth that you need to survive and resist. But it's not all doom and gloom. We'd love to have you join the Dragon Squad, our community of positive-minded activists who turn the day's news into positive action. With new episodes every weekday, listen to The Damage Report to get honest news, unflinching commentary, and daring coverage you won't find anywhere else. Listen to The Damage Report on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts, because understanding the damage is the first step to fixing it.
All right, back on TYT, Cenk and Anna with you guys. We're gonna have Massie on in a little bit. By the way, we have a poll up on TYT.com. Do you have to wish Israel a happy birthday? Yes or no? Okay, because apparently you're a vicious hater if you don't. They're lunatics, total lunatics.
But you know,
right.
Look, we get angry because of how brazen they are in their lack of humanity, or even being able to see Palestinians as humans as these atrocities are committed against them.
Nazis.
But honestly, that monologue was a sign of sheer desperation. That was a man backed into a corner, pathetically attempting to rewrite history when his entire audience knows the truth. And that's what gives me hope. The American people waking up to what's really going on. That gives me hope.
But Edwin reminded me during the break, the Ellisons bought Warner, which is part of HBO.
Yep.
So Bill Maher will probably have his salary doubled. They'll be like, oh, great job lying to people to get them to kneel to Israel. Here's double your salary. So, but remember, Israel doesn't control any media or any Congress. That is wild, crazy theories.
That subscription is pretty expensive, and I've been happily paying it because I love HBO. Love Hacks, by the way, one of my favorite shows. But once that change is official, I'm canceling that. There's no way I'm gonna support any business owned by the Ellisons, but all right. Okay, let's move on to something entirely different. Well, not entirely different, because this man has become a target due to his unwillingness to fund Israel's wars. And so let's talk about the race for Kentucky's 4th district. So the primary race between Kentucky Congressman Thomas Massie and Israel's proxy Ed Galrein takes place tomorrow on Tuesday. And they'll be battling it out for a House seat in Kentucky's 4th congressional district. Of course, Massie is the incumbent who has drawn the ire of the Israel First Republicans for 2 reasons. Number one, his unwillingness to just consistently fund Israel's wars, but more importantly, Trump has directed his ire against Congressman Massie over the fact that he fought real hard to get the release of the Epstein files, something that Trump and his cronies had promised to do on the campaign trail. Now, Massie was even willing to reach across the aisle and work with Democrats like Congressman Ro Khanna in order to make the release of the Epstein files happen, and I commend him for that. But what has now come from his efforts is this attack to ensure that he loses his seat to Israel's proxy candidate. And again, that's Ed Galrein. So Jake, before I give you some of the details on how much the Israel lobby has funded Massie's opponent, your 2 cents.
Yeah, so this race is a race between America and Israel. And you don't have to agree with Tom Massie on 90% of stuff, I don't. But I know he's an American. And so when I'm debating him, I know that I'm having an honest debate. Whereas Ed Galrein has sworn to support Israel unconditionally. And if you don't know this, in order to take Israeli lobby money, you have to literally sign a pledge that your support of Israel will be unconditional, no matter what they do. Even if they murder 10 Americans like they did the last 3 years, even if they come here for sexual tourism and rape our kids, even if Epstein was a Mossad agent, nothing matters. Unconditional support. You have to take American taxpayers' money and you have to give it to Israel no matter what. So Ed Galrein has raised his hand and said, I will work for Israel. Tom Massie says he's gonna work for America. Tomorrow we're gonna find out, can the Israeli money buy any election in the country? Because if they could buy an election of Tom Massie, a deeply conservative figure in the middle of Kentucky, they're gonna go and tell Congress, that means we can buy any and every election. All of you kneel. And those congressmen will all kneel to Israel if Massie loses tomorrow.
That's right. So let's get to some of the details of just how much outside money has just flown into or flowed into this race. So for instance, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee and other pro-Israel interest groups, this is the Israel lobby of course, have uncorked over $9 million in a bid to unseat Republican Representative Thomas Massie. Now, Politico reported that just yesterday. However, there's a little bit of an update today, just a little bit of an update. So this morning we learned that the Republican Jewish Coalition Victory Fund just filed another $470,000 of spending against Thomas Massie. So that means that more than $20 million in outside spending has absolutely poured into this race in an effort to defeat someone who dare cross the Israelis. That's what this is really about. By the way, strange that the Epstein story is tied to support for Israel, right? Yeah. Anyway, so this is probably the reason why Massie has introduced something known as the AIPAC Act. So leading GOP critic of Israel introduces AIPAC Act days before record-breaking $25 million primary. Representative Massie, the maverick Republican who pushed back against Trump on the Epstein files and Iran, aimed a not so subtle dig at the pro-Israel establishment that has bankrolled efforts to unseat him. Now, according to Ad Impact, just to get a sense of how much money we're talking about here, $32.6 million have been spent in total on this Kentucky race, House race, from the primary for this House race.
So in my reading of the articles, it's about $16 million coming in from the Israeli lobby. So now, reporters report that, they don't hide that fact. But then later, when they're voting on Israel and funding Israel, all the Congress people will vote for Israel. And the reporters will never talk about, oh right, they spent 16 million to try to defeat Massie, 18 million to defeat Bowman, 14 million to defeat Cori Bush, as if those two things are unconnected. No, they're deeply connected. This is exactly how Israel buys our Congress.
And luckily, here to talk about this race and the attacks directed toward him, we've got Congressman Thomas Massie. Is he with us yet? All right, we're connecting with Congressman Massie right now. He'll be with us in just a moment. Just give me a thumbs up once he's ready.
Okay, all right, so let me go on. So wait, why did the Republican Jewish Coalition Victory Fund put in all this money into a race in the middle of Kentucky where there are almost no Jewish Americans? So why do they care so much about this? Well, it's obviously because they're saying we want you to serve Israel. It's not complicated, it's not subtle, it's not in dispute. But nevertheless, the media tries to make it seem like, oh, how dare you say this is about Israel?
Right.
All right, Tom Massie's on now. Go ahead, Aaron.
All right, Congressman Massie, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. And I have so many questions I want to ask you. But the first thing I want to ask is, at what point did you realize that Trump had totally turned on you and wanted to destroy your, re-election campaign?
Look, I don't think this is really about Trump. I think you nailed it before. I think it's about Israel. They tried to buy my.
All right.
He is in the hills of Kentucky, so he's having some connection issues there. All right, we'll try to pull him back up. So look, as we're doing that, let me give you one more thing. So as he's saying there, a lot of the Republicans opposed to him are saying, no, this isn't about Israel. This is about the fact that he defied Trump. But what they don't talk about is, but what did he defy Trump on? The Epstein files. So are you saying that he should have gone along with Trump and buried the Epstein files? And who wanted the Epstein files buried? Israel did. All right, Massie's back. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and this.
All right, we're still running into the same issues. Why don't we take a quick break, if you don't mind? So we'll take our hour break, and then when we're back in a few minutes, hopefully we'll have those technical issues figured out. We'll be right back. I don't care if you're Christian. In fact, I will fight for you to have your religious liberty and practice your Christianity. I believe in that. I don't believe in Christianity, which means that you do not get to dictate the way I live my life based on your religion. I don't care what the Bible says. You have every right in the world. All those women who identify with your religion have every right in the world to not get an abortion, to not take birth control, but they do not have the right to dictate my life and what I decide to do with my body. I don't care about your goddamn religion. I'm so tired of having nonstop conversations about what the Bible says. You live your life in the way that you interpret the Bible. Again, I don't care, but you don't get to take the Bible and tell me, well, the Bible says this in this chapter in this verse. I don't care. I don't care. I don't believe in it, and I have the right, based on our Constitution, to not believe in it.
No part of Gaza has been left unscathed. Ain't a whole lot left. I don't know why they need any more bombs. Let us be clear. The United States provided $18 billion in military aid to Israel. Netanyahu, indiscriminate bombardment, have killed more than 50,000 civilians, 60% of whom are women, children, paramedics, and journalists. All of this is against basic human decency. You don't starve children with absolutely no humanitarian aid getting into Gaza. It is a war crime. It is illegal for the United States government to provide Israel with more offensive weapons. History will not forgive us.
We've been on our phones too much. I feel like we just need to touch grass or something.
I told you. I mean, you know what? Let's actually do it. Let's touch the grass. Whoa. Andrew Yang? It's not racist, right? It's him.
Yes, it is I, Andrew Yang, out here giving money away as usual.
Wait, but literally?
Do you use a phone? Noble Mobile will cut your wireless bill in half every month, and you get paid even more if you log off, look up, and touch grass.
Oh, I actually have some grass if you.
I don't think that's the kind of grass.
Not that kind of grass, unfortunately.
Whoa, wait, what the?
Whoa.
I guess that kind of grass works too. All grass works.
All grass and we get cash?
Wait, did you see that, babe?
Noble Mobile, make it rain, girl, make it rain, make it. That didn't rain so good, but now it's raining good.
Corruption, injustice, the system is rigged against you. Every day we're blasted by a flurry of terrible news from every angle, which can make it challenging to stay positive and know how to fight back. The damage report is your solution. I'm Johnny DeRola, and my daily morning show cuts through the noise and exposes the real damage being done to our country, the world, and how we can fight back against it. Corporate greed crushing workers, we'll name names. Politicians selling you out for their corporate overlords, we've got the receipts. Climate disaster, economic collapse, the rise of fascism. No spin, no establishment talking points, just the truth that you need to survive and resist. But it's not all doom and gloom. We'd love to have you join the Dragon Squad, our community of positive-minded activists who turn the day's news into positive action. With new episodes every weekday, listen to The Damage Report to get honest news, unflinching commentary, and daring coverage you won't find anywhere else. Listen to The Damage Report on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts, because understanding the damage is the first step to fixing it.
Norway.
All right, back on TYT, Cenk and Anna with you guys. Unfortunately, the place where Representative Massie was holding an event, it does not have good enough internet connection. They promised that they're going to be back on tomorrow with a better connection. And by the way, tomorrow on the program, guest host Bassem Youssef. So it should be an amazing, fascinating show tomorrow. So make sure you're checking that out. But let's finish up the Massie story for you guys here, and then we'll move on to the others.
So, we talked a little bit about the money spent in the race, and I also want to talk about what various people have to say about Massie, people who have turned their backs on him, including, unfortunately, the Vice President, J.D. Vance, who I'm sure would like to distance himself from the Trump administration when he runs for president in 2028. But for now, he's kind of backed into the corner, regurgitating nonsense from Trump and the rest of the Israel firsters. Take a look.
I think the problem with Thomas, and I've told him this in private, and now I guess I'll say it in public, is it's one thing to disagree with the party on a particular issue. It's one thing to to have your independent stand on a number of questions. And by the way, some of the stuff where Thomas Massie has been independent against the Republican Party, I've agreed with him with. Thomas and I worked together during 2023, where I was trying to stop the limitless flow of American money to Ukraine, and Thomas was one of the people I was working closest with it. But that's one thing. Being independent, having your own opinions is one thing. Voting against the party on every single issue, you're eventually going to make too many enemies. And that is the problem that Thomas has had. It's not one issue, it's not 3 or 4 issues. It's that every time that we've needed Thomas for a vote, he has been completely unwilling to provide it. That is why the President of the United States has trained his ire on Thomas Massie. It's because we can never count on him for some of the most difficult votes.
So Peter Thiel's golden boy repeats a lie about how Thomas Massie votes against Trump's agenda every single time, which is just a lie. He's been a fiscal hawk his entire political career. He doesn't want to fund Israel's wars. He doesn't want to fund Israel's wars. Do the American people want their tax dollars to go toward Israel's wars? And notice how, Cenk, Vance wants to speak from both sides of his mouth because he understands young conservatives are on Massie's side. But he also understands the older conservatives are very much in line with what Israel wants. And so he needs to make Trump happy, please the boomers, but also the Republican boomers, right? But also he wants to kind of leave that door open to appeal to young conservatives, but young conservatives aren't stupid, Vance. They see what you're doing here and you've got no backbone. So you're willing to throw a so-called friend under the bus, right? Anyway.
No, I noticed the same thing. He wasn't like Trump with that dumb Democrat loser, right? He was like my friend Thomas and I, who normally work together and will be working together when I run for president.
Exactly.
Right? But right now I have to kiss Donald Trump and Israel's ass. So he has been very disloyal to the Republican Party. Has he? Because last I checked, he voted with the Republicans 91% of the time. So he doesn't vote with Israel. Okay, that's a huge problem. That's enough to disqualify him. But what was the other major thing where Trump really wanted his vote and Massie wouldn't give it to him? The Epstein files. So there's JD Vance going, can you believe he betrayed Israel and all the perverts and pedophiles and voted to release the Epstein files when we were trying to cover it up? We were trying to cover up for the guilty so that Israel wouldn't get caught spying on Americans and then using blackmail against all of us. And this Tom Massie guy, who later will be a really good friend, okay, right now is unacceptable. Make sure you defeat him and put in an Israeli instead. Because Ed Galrine, I don't care where he was born or where he lives, has pledged to serve Israel unconditionally.
Yeah, he's the proxy candidate for Israel. Like, he's Israel's proxy. And if you don't believe me, understand that Thomas Massie, as a libertarian, is against funding a foreign country's wars. In fact, I would like for all of our members of Congress to be against funding a foreign country's wars, but unfortunately we don't live in a country that has leaders like that. And Ed Galrine, Massie's opponent, not only wants the United States to pay for Israel's wars to help it build its empire in the Middle East, he would like Americans to be forced, literally forced, into fighting Israel's wars. Now, older conservatives don't have to worry about a draft, right? Younger conservatives, though, they're definitely worried about a draft. And guess what Ed Galrine wants? Take a look.
In 1973, we moved away from conscription selective service and went to the all-volunteer force.
Right.
And so that's been the most challenging few years since that transition, and that is a significant issue for national security. If you figure, okay, we got to start selective service, we got to get them through all the in-processing, boot camp, trainings, you're talking months downstream. Do we really have that time anymore?
No.
Is that a deeply flawed concept?
Yeah.
And so what would really happen if we had to go from what I call a cold start of a pending, world war? How fast and what would really happen if we had to re-implement selective service, i.e. the draft, train, equip, and prepare to deploy those forces? I'm not sure we have that kind of time anymore. I'm not so sure that we're on as high ground in deterrence as we could be with, sort of the way things are unfolding relative to our ability to field combat power.
Yeah.
And so the selective service to draft pertain.
Nothing better than hearing a bunch of old crusty men talk about how we need to implement a draft and send American soldiers to their death on behalf of a foreign country. But anyway, back to you, Cenk.
So now these Israeli-bought politicians, which again is about 94% of Congress, and that's why they're spending so much money against Massie, because they're like, oh my God, he's among the 6% we haven't bought, so we have to destroy him publicly. So everyone sees that it's us who did it. Now it's okay because the media will just come in and call everyone anti-Semites and bury the facts, but everyone in Congress will see that it was Israel and that Galrine bowed to us and he was allowed to win and Massie wouldn't kneel, so we eliminated him, right? So, but those guys normally say, we need you to die for Israel. You have to use American ground troops. They never even discuss or debate using Israeli ground troops, right? But now Galrine is taken to another level. He says, we need you to die for Israel quicker, okay? Now that worries me on a couple of grounds. I already know he's 100% Israeli asset if he goes into Congress, okay? So, and if you want to take $16 million from the Israelis and pretend you're not an Israeli asset after you pledged unconditional support to a foreign government, you can kiss my American ass, because Ed Galrine, you're nowhere near an American. You're a bought bitch for another country. You're disgusting, including, by the way, mutants like Latimer, who's a Democrat, did the same thing to Bowman. Wesley Bell, a sellout piece of crap who works for Israel, who's a Democrat from Missouri. But again, we can give you 94% of Congress. Now, what I'm worried about is why are they doing the talking point of, we gotta hurry on the draft. Hurry up, we're not gonna be able to make it in time. Make it in time for what? Oh no, Israel's planning a super extended war in Iran. They need to eliminate all their enemies in Congress now, so Congress will sanction years of war and tons of American ground troops. That's why they're in a panic to start the draft and eliminate any Americans who might be in Congress, so that the Israelis, pretending to be Americans, financed by Israel, will send your kids to go die for Israel in Iran.
Yeah, so just be clear. Ed Galrine and those who support him believe in using Americans as cannon fodder for Israel's wars.
Fact.
Period. All right, let's move on to something not entirely different because there might be more war on the horizon and it doesn't involve Iran. So let's discuss.
Cuba's not contemplating an attack on America. Stop. Don't insult our intelligence. Be honest. Tell us what we're doing. It's just whatever. Okay, so are we planning an attack on them? We don't know.
There you have Megyn Kelly speaking facts about how Cuba does not pose a threat to the United States. Nonetheless, the Trump administration is looking for ways to rationalize yet more regime change military action, this time against Cuba. And the plot is to pretend like we're afraid of their drones, which they claim they don't even have. Before I give you the details, your 2 cents.
Yeah, has Donald Trump lost his effing mind? Are we really gonna attack Cuba? And if we do, how many wars does it take for an anti-war president to win a peace prize? I mean, are you kidding me? Venezuela, then Iran, then Cuba? If any Republican said they were anti-war and is still supporting Donald Trump, well, okay, why don't you admit you're a liar and a hypocrite and totally ridiculous.
You know, no one ever really talks about it other than Dave DeCamp over at antiwar.com. But Trump has really ramped up strikes against Somalia as well.
He's attacked at least 7 countries already.
He's killed more than 200 people in those little fishing boats in the Caribbean. Those strikes continue to happen, by the way.
By the way, we're doing nothing for the American people. Nothing for the American people. All we're doing is war.
Yeah.
He said he was, Donald Trump, we told you, I've been telling you for a decade, the biggest liar in American history. The guy runs a non-stop anti-war campaign, gets into office, and all he does is war.
Yep. So what could possibly foreshadow likely military action against Cuba better than Trump's favorite rag, Axios, which certainly serves as his stenographer these days. So Mark Caputo over at Axios writes, exclusive, I'm sure it is, US eyes attack drone threat from Cuba. So at that point, the stenographer over at Axios simply regurgitates an intelligence report without even questioning said intelligence report, writing that Cuba has acquired more than 300 military drones and recently began discussing plans to use them to attack the US base at Guantanamo Bay, US military vessels, and possibly Key West, Florida, 90 miles north of Havana, according to classified intelligence shared with Axios. Hey, Mark, have you maybe considered why that intelligence was leaked to you? And why aren't you questioning it? Why are you just simply repeating it as if it's 100% fact?
Oh my God, he got a leak. He's such a good reporter.
Exclusive.
Oh my God, I wrote down what a government official said. I'm such a hero. Are you?
It's amazing. All right. The intelligence, which could become a pretext for US military action, shows the degree to which the Trump administration sees Cuba as a threat because of developments in drone warfare and the presence of Iranian military advisors in Havana. Ooh, you gotta inject some, Iran threat into the mix, right? Ooh, Tehran is involved. In addition, CIA Director John Ratcliffe traveled to Cuba on Thursday and bluntly warned officials there against engaging in hostilities. He also urged them to scrap their totalitarian government to end crippling US sanctions, a CIA official told Axios. And on Wednesday, the Department of Justice plans to unseal an indictment of Cuba's de facto leader, Raul Castro. He's 94 years old. Raul Castro is 94 years old, for allegedly ordering the 1996 downing of 2 planes flown by a Miami-based aid group called Brothers to the Rescue. So let me get this straight, Cenk. The country that we are starving to death, okay? We're so afraid of them and their drones that we must attack. We must attack.
Yeah.
I'm so afraid of Cuba. I lie awake at night, terrified that any minute they're gonna attack us with their fancy drones. Cuba's a real threat.
You know how many drones they claim to have? 300. Okay, yeah, 300 should. They're
terrified.
They're gonna take San Antonio any day now. Okay, so look at the level of absurdity. For Iran, they had to go back 47 years to find something that Iran did against us. So they're like, remember what they did in 1983. Here, they're like, oh, this one's better. Remember what they did in 1996 and 1896. Okay, remember what we did to them, Bay of Pigs, where we tried to take over their country and attack them when they hadn't attacked us? We can go back and forth a million times. So I think that the line about Iran, and this is total conjecture, is about like the Cuban Americans going, maybe we can get the Israelis to help us start this war if we say Iran is there. Hey, Israelis, Iran is in Havana. We got to go get them. But my guess is that, I mean, look,
this is so
I don't think it's going to happen, to be honest, and maybe I'm wrong. The reason, but here's why my theory as to why this isn't going to happen. Because Israel doesn't want us to do anything that isn't for them. So they're like, that's a distraction. No, send more troops to us. Who cares, right? So, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Trump is like the biggest warmonger in the world, and he's like, I just want to attack every country I can. And so, and at that point, I'd start to wonder if he really meant it about Greenland, right? And so here's more conjecture, and I am clear when I say fact and when I say conjecture. So he went over to China, and they were looking to see if China was going to say something about Iran, right? And so they didn't want to continue in the war in Iran until he went to China first, right? Mm-hmm. And China comes out of that going, now remember, the most important part of this summit was America cannot help Taiwan militarily. They said it like 3 times. So did they go and China say to them, hey, you do whatever you want in Iran, thinking, hey, you know what? If America wants to destroy itself, fighting Iran for no reason, like Russia did with Ukraine, that's a win for China, okay? Go destroy your military, waste all of your money and treasure, right? But if you do that, we get to take Taiwan, okay? And if we're in Cuba and Venezuela and Iran, you think we can go defend Taiwan? There's 0% chance of that. And the Israelis would never allow it.
So I actually want to skip ahead and go to Megyn Kelly's thoughts on this. By the way, I should note that Cuba has already made clear that this is all made up, that they don't have the drones. Besides which, if they had 1,000 drones, I wouldn't care. I don't see Cuba as a threat to the United States. I see the United States as a threat to Cuba, and I'll explain why after we watch this clip from Megyn Kelly. Take a look.
Cuba is not about to attack us. These are lies, okay? We can have a good faith debate about whether we want to swoop in and rescue Cuba from the conditions we've helped impose on Cuba, and be really clear-eyed about why we've done what we've done and why we think they need us. But let's please do it honestly. Let's not pretend that Cuba's about to attack us. Okay, like this is an insult to our intelligence. Okay? They literally cannot keep the lights on down there.
I just want to say thank you for using the phrase insult to our intelligence, because that's what I've been feeling about our federal government for years now, okay? I mean, just constantly insulting the intelligence of the American people. We know that Cuba is not a threat to the United States. We know that Cuba is not going to attack the United States. Cuba would be wiped out by the US military if that were to happen. And we've been starving them. Go ahead, Jane.
So, Anna, I'm sure you didn't mean to say thank you to Megyn Kelly there. I
said thank you to Megyn Kelly because she was spot on in that analysis.
What do you mean? I thought we had to reject all help and all reasonable things, even if she's against the war. If she's against the war in Cuba, it doesn't matter. She's a naughty, so we have to hate her and disagree with her. All right. Anyway, so obviously we're not in that camp. But guys, what Cuba said to the press is, we're trying to defend ourselves. We have even if they have 300 drones, they're like, we're gonna get obliterated, is basically what they're saying between. They literally asked, are we not allowed to defend ourselves?
No, apparently not.
Because America keeps saying, we're gonna invade you, we're gonna attack you, we're gonna murder you, right? And they're like, oh, okay, we pieced together 300 drones, we can't make the toilets run, so we put them together with duct tape. And they're like, oh, so you're gonna attack us?
Can I just
what? No, you told me you were gonna attack me.
Why can't we just either leave Cuba alone, or if you're desperate to engage in business activity with Cuba, a communist country, you could just keep things chill like we did with China. And is China really a communist country at this point, Cenk?
Not really.
No, not really.
Of course not. It's a mixed government, and they got Levi's and McDonald's all over the place.
So Obama opening up a diplomatic relationship with Cuba would have been a far better path than I don't know, whatever the hell this is. And by the way, we have been starving Cubans to death. And if you don't believe me, take a look at the humanitarian crisis that's been spurred by US policy against Cuba.
These are photos from Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal and her colleague, Congressman Jonathan Jackson's trip to Cuba last month. They're inside a maternity hospital in Havana. And as they describe in a new op-ed for the New York Times, hospital staff members struggle to get to work without fuel for their cars. During blackouts, doctors sometimes have to manually pump ventilators to keep babies alive.
Without enough gas, less than half of Havana's trash trucks are allowed to run. Piles of garbage spill over into the historic streets. And as the sun sets, a now routine darkness takes over, with 10 million people left without light, pitch black streets, and no electricity to cook the little food people are able to find.
We are two older people, both in our 70s, and she's also sick. Our food has spoiled. I'm boiling 3 pieces of chicken to try and save something to eat because the situation is really bad.
Really bad, really bad. We have nothing left. We're doing really bad, and I just want to die so I can get some rest from this country. May God forgive me for speaking like this.
I want nothing more than to feel proud of my country, and I am proud of the people of this country. But knowing that our government causes so much pain and suffering across the globe makes me sick to my stomach. The fact that that Cuban woman would rather die than go through what she's going through right now, thanks to the economic sanctions that have been implemented against Cuba for decades now, it breaks my heart. Anyway.
Guys, we know what the right model is, even if we want the same result. So look at what happened in Vietnam. In Vietnam, we bombed them to no end, killed millions of people, and didn't accomplish a damn thing. We got 50,000 of our guys killed, wasted all this money. And then after the war, we're like, oh yeah, why don't we sell you Nikes and McDonald's? And they're like, oh great. And then they became like basically de facto capitalists, and we won. So what are we doing? Just trade with them. That's the obvious answer. We flipped, in a sense, de facto flipped China and Vietnam into being at least mixed economies with tons of capitalism in there. So that's how you win, even if you want them to turn capitalist. So this whole idea of let's starve them to death and then murder them and take over their country is barbaric, it's un-American, and this isn't what the good people of America want.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about Zoran Mamdani triggering some people in New York City by commemorating what he refers to as Nakba Day.
Yes.
That and more coming up, don't miss it.
All right, guys, so let's go to X. We've got a comment from a viewer on X, former Trump supporter here. My bad, guys, my bad.
Okay.
Okay, so that's Rafe Jenkins. Hey, no, brother, thank you for recognizing it and having an open mind. I love it, okay? And tell everybody we're on X, make sure they're watching, okay? So now let's go to YouTube members. Lady AF says, I saw like 10 seconds of the Bill video, then turned it off. Didn't need to watch that. Thankfully, Cenk angrily broke it down later, LOL. I did. I tried to not get angry today, but bounds of reason, right? He's so racist, it breaks the mind. And the whole time that sick bigot thinks like, I'm the one who's the good guy. They all hate Jews. We're the best. Israel's the best. By the way, I'm an atheist. The dirty Muslims, the Jews are the greatest. I'm an atheist, okay.
By the way, can I just note that a mosque in San Diego was shot up today? And in response to that, Laura Loomer said the mosque was supposedly shot up today. Just remember, the people who attend this mosque want us all to be killed.
Yeah, she's like, oh my God, I was gonna use a terrible word. Okay.
She's a wench.
Well, it doesn't matter. She's a deep racist. The New York Times wrote an article like a week ago and saying, totally whitewashed Laura Loomer. They're like, godly, wonderful Laura Loomer is raising money for what? To smear Muslims. And there she is doing it again. New York Times like, bravo. Do you guys know the New York Times reporters are super mad at Christoph because he published facts about Israel? We'll be back. All right, guys, today is Member Mondays, so we do the Young Turks 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern at 8 o'clock. I'm gonna have you guys call in. Only members call, but everybody can watch. tyt.com/call if you're a member. And today's topic is, if I ran the country for one day, what would you do if you ran the country for one day? We'll do that at 8 o'clock. Tomorrow we got Bassem Youssef on the show. Make sure you check that out.
Can't wait.
It's gonna be great.
I don't even want to produce stories. I just want to have fun.
Yeah, so it'll definitely be interesting and fun, no question about it. So he's in the studio tomorrow. Make sure you're checking that out, and check out our podcasting network wherever you get your podcasts.
You guys better have that, censor button ready for curse words. Stuff
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
it's hard to contain them. Okay.
All right, let's talk about Nakba Day. Well, Zoran Mami.
Okay, that was funny, Freudian slip. I wish we could keep it, but it's a story about the Nakba, so we're gonna have to reset.
I know. All right, Zoran. Let's restart that again. Okay, I'm a professional here. We'll do it live.
Okay.
Zoran Mamdani has decided to go in an entirely different direction from Bill Maher, who decided to, smear Americans for failing to wish Israel a happy birthday. On the other hand, you have the New York City Mayor Mamdani being the first American politician, certainly the first New York City mayor, to commemorate something that he has dubbed Nakba Day, breaking from the regular tradition of celebrating Israel's independence. Now, before I give you the details and who he triggered by this, Cenk, your 2 cents.
Yeah, so it's such a pleasure to see an unbiased mayor who actually cares about everyone. And of course, this has made the Israeli supporters in New York livid. How dare you treat the Palestinians as equal to the Israelis? And they're furious about it. So let's find out more.
So here's what he posted on X. Today marks Nakba Day, an annual day of remembrance to commemorate the expulsion of more than 700,000 Palestinians between 1947 and 1949 during the creation of the State of Israel and the year that followed. Now, in addition to that, Mamdani also, his office, also sat down with a woman by the name of Ainia Bushnak, a New Yorker and someone who actually survived the Nakba. So we'll show you a bit of that video in just a second. Actually, you know what? Why don't we go ahead and take a look at the video right now? Let's watch.
I was 9 years old. It was nighttime, and my father came into our bedroom and told us, surprisingly, to get on all fours and make our way to the staircase that goes in to the roof. There were no windows on the staircase because bullets had come in through the wood shutters at that stage. And next day, we just took what we could carry and went to my uncle Hussein's house in Nablus, because there was no fighting in Nablus. The Zionists were, coming into Jerusalem. That I've lived in different places and I've always been an outsider. In England, actually we were called aliens on our passports. I lived in Italy, again, not part of it. And after the 67 war, I came here. In this diverse city, I feel most at home since leaving Palestine.
So between 1947 and 1949, Israeli forces destroyed more than 400 Palestinian villages and cities and killed thousands of Palestinians. And as you can imagine, Mamdani's post and video prompted absolute rage and fury from Israel firsters, which we'll get to in just a second. But just to give you a sense of how nuanced and fueled by justice Mamdani is on this issue. He doesn't see the world through a Muslims versus everyone lens. In fact, on April 24th, he put out a statement in regard to the Armenian genocide. And obviously he's critical of Muslims here, right? So I'm gonna read this to you. He says, today marks the 111th anniversary of the Armenian genocide. As we honor the 1.5 million Armenians murdered by the Ottoman Empire across modern-day Turkey, Syria, and Armenia, we must refuse to let this history repeat itself. And then this is the part that really impressed me because it shows you that he's aware of what's going on. In 2020, the military forces of Azerbaijan and Turkey attacked the Armenian population in Nagorno-Karabakh. In 2023, Azerbaijan expelled over 100,000 Armenians from Nagorno-Karabakh, continuing the genocidal campaign that had begun over 100 years prior. On this day of remembrance, we reaffirm the right of the Armenian people and all people to freedom, safety, and self-determination. That was the strongest statement I have ever read from a US politician on the topic of the Armenian genocide and the ethnic cleansing of Armenians from Nagorno-Karabakh. And those were perpetrated by Muslims. So for him, what fuels him is speaking out against injustice. And so he did it in regard to Nakba Day, he did it in regard to the genocide and what happened in Nagorno-Karabakh, and he has my respect for that.
So he's obviously a vicious racist against Turks, and he should be immediately thrown out of office.
Turks were very upset at that post, by the way.
Of course they were.
Yeah.
So I'm just pulling in Israeli here. So since I was offended and my people were offended, that means no one should be allowed to have him as mayor, because we're more important than everyone else. So it doesn't matter that the Armenians were killed or that the Palestinians are killed. The only people that matter are the ones that are us, okay? So as a Turk, that's it. Mamdani's evil and terrible and should be destroyed. Now, if Turks did that, people would be like, are you a lunatic? Who cares what Turks think? I mean, he's actually correct about that. But when people who support Israel do it, everybody treats it like it's normal. Like,
totally.
They're like, oh yeah, were the Palestinians massacred in 47 through 49? Were 700,000 ethnically cleansed? No one disputes that that's true. They're like, but you're not allowed to say it because it offends Israel's supporters. Well, what is that? What kind of lunatic standard is that where you demand that we lie on behalf of Israel? No, that definitely happened. And Anna, the thing that pisses me off is that when I was going to school in New Jersey, they lied to me. And they said
they lied to all of us.
They said that Israel was attacked in 1948, even though they hadn't done anything at all. And that the Palestinians left for no reason at all, right? And they didn't tell us that there was dozens of massacres by Irgun, Stern Gang, Lehigh. All of these were terrorist Israeli groups. And they hid all those facts from us. They lied to us and said that Israel was attacked in 1967. Also not true. They attacked all of their neighbors. They hit first and they destroyed their air forces and then took their land. They're an imperial empire. They're a settler colony. And the way the settler colony expands is by murdering the people on that land and taking it for themselves. When Israel first started in 48, Jewish people were only 6% of the residents there. In order to get to 48%, which was what they were assigned by the UN, they had to move those Palestinians out of half of what is current day Israel. How did they move them? By massacring them. Anyone who tells you otherwise is lying to you on purpose to protect Israel. And what is amazing is the overwhelming propaganda that they have done in this country to get everyone to not know, not realize that they started Israel with genocide.
Yeah, I mean, look, my family fled Haifa in 1947 because of terror attacks carried out by the Irgun. Okay, they would literally bomb marketplaces and kill dozens of Arabs.
So sometimes they would kill Palestinians and they would drag their dead bodies through the villages as a sign to the other Palestinians, you better leave now, otherwise we're gonna murder you all. By the way, the settlers are doing it today as we speak. They're threatening to rape the wives and the daughters of the Palestinians who stay in the West Bank, and they're starting to urinate on the Palestinians.
They're disgusting.
They've been doing this since 1948, but when you try to recognize the Palestinians as human beings and recognize the pain and suffering that they have gone through, a bunch of Israel supporters come in and go, no, do not treat them as human. We're the only ones who count. No one else counts but the Israelis.
Yeah.
Well, that's a sick form of disgusting racism and bigotry.
I watched a video over the weekend of an Israeli settler beating a dog nearly to death in the West Bank. Imagine doing that and calling yourself someone who's chosen by God. Anyway, now let's talk about the individuals triggered by Zoran Mamdani recognizing the humanity of the Palestinian people. So first, you had some Jewish leaders who didn't like the fact that he posted the video of the Palestinian Nakba survivor on just before sunset on Friday, when Jews observe the Sabbath, and many people turn off their phones as a result of honoring the Sabbath. Now,
who cares?
I mean,
who cares when he put up the video? Oh, you put it up on a Friday when Muslims pray. So what? Videos get put up on Fridays, okay? And by the way, it wasn't the Sabbath yet. The sun doesn't set for another 2 hours. Total BS excuse. Oh, we're the victims.
No,
Why did you show someone who's a Palestinian as a human being when we're in the middle of murdering all of them? You're gonna get people to realize how viciously evil we are. Oh, you did it on almost the Sabbath. What a preposterous excuse.
Yeah, look, I'm right there with you, I don't care. The American Jewish Committee also accused Zoran Mamdani of sharing a video that's one-sided, saying that-
What's the other side? We should have murdered them?
Pretty much, I mean.
Yeah, that's literally their thing. We should have genocided them. We should have done a bigger genocide. That's your other side? Here, I just shared it. Congrats.
So the American Jewish Committee wrote the following. At a time when Jews are being attacked in the streets of New York, by the way, a mosque in San Diego was just targeted today.
But they don't count, they don't count.
So far we know 3 men have been killed in that attack. So anyway, but let me continue with the statement. At a time when Jews are being attacked in the streets of New York and worldwide because of anti-Zionist narratives, amplifying misleading content doesn't just distort public understanding, it puts the Jewish community at further risk. I would like them to explain what was inaccurate about what Zoran Mamdani put out there.
No, what he's saying there, that so-called American Jewish Committee is saying there is, if you tell people the truth about how evil Israel has been and is currently right now against the Palestinians, then people will dislike us. So you have to lie to them. You have to lie to them like we get every government official in America to lie to them. We get everyone in media to lie to them. We're so disgusted with you that you would treat them as human beings and care about their lives. Only Jewish lives, right? I didn't say it, they're saying it. They're saying, who cares about those Muslims that we slaughtered? You should only care about Jewish lives. That's insane, totally insane.
Finally, let's go to Laura Loomer, who says President Trump should cut off all federal funding for New York City until Mamdani resigns. Okay, Laura, I think New York City should stop paying federal taxes entirely if this is actually something that comes to fruition. Why would anyone pay federal taxes if they're going to be denied federal aid or money? That's ridiculous. Mamdani is using taxpayer money to make Palestinian propaganda about Nakba, and his supporters are threatening to attack Jews in New York on a daily basis.
Total
That's
lie.
Not true.
Of course, she's a giant liar. All she ever does is lie.
Yep. Trump can easily win this fight by denying New York City all federal funds until Mamdani resigns. It's simple. By the way, this is a woman who responded to the mosque getting shot up today by saying, remember, every single person who goes there wants to kill us all. So basically, not only justifying a terror attack against people worshiping at a mosque, but essentially inciting violence on the daily on X, on the daily. And apparently it's totally okay. Doxing private citizens because she doesn't like what their spouses or their family members have to say about a genocidal foreign country. She's a terrible person and she's running her mouth as if she's the moral one. Okay, she's a disgrace, a stain on this country.
So if we said 1% of what they say about Muslims, about Jews, there would be congressional hearings, right? There would be calls for no one to ever talk to us again, for us to be canceled, taken off of platforms, etc. But supporters of Israel can go around saying, shut up about their genocide, no one cares about them. So what if we murdered them? So what if we ethnically cleansed 700,000 people? Shut up, okay? What are you, a Muslim lover? Oh, they have a Muslim mayor, you should cancel all funds to New York. Oh, Muslims got killed? So what? They deserved it, right? Imagine we said that about Jewish people. The whole country would go ballistic, right? So, okay, I'm happy to have this conversation the minute almost all of mainstream media and all of our politicians admit that they're deep racists against Arabs and bigots against Muslims. Are you guys gonna admit that? And look, at this point, it's not just Israeli supporters, these are Jewish American leaders. And Jewish American leaders are saying in unison, who cares about Muslims? we get to murder them. And they better not complain, otherwise they're anti-Semites and we'll ruin them. Hey, if you do that, then people are not going to like you. Is that complicated? Are you dumb? Are you dumb? Oh, we get to attack you, we get to call for violence against you. Now, a bunch of congressmen today with more husband propaganda. Oh, someone left me a nasty note. Boo-hoo. Israel supporters threaten to kill us every single day, dozens of times a day. No one cares. The Israelis can do anything vicious that they want. They can be as bigoted and racist as they want. But the minute you even acknowledge a Palestinian as a life worth having and saving, they go, how dare you be bigoted against Jews by treating Palestinians as our equal, as human beings. If you don't want to be called an anti-Semite and you have your life ruined, you better treat Palestinians as dogs. The dogs, we beat them like we beat those dogs in the West Bank.
Yeah, well, I prefer not to behave like a Nazi, so I'm gonna go ahead and decline. For now, though, we're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk about Ben Shapiro coping about the destruction of his own business.
I am scary. I am threatening. I'm Darth Vader.
All right, let's go to TYT.com. Members, Sexy Speed Racer says, go to hell, Bill Maher, and take the state of Israel with you. Panic on Funktron says, Bill Maher is supposedly an atheist, but he believes Israel promised land by God. Effing joke. Rio Real on Twitch says, okay, Bill Maher, Mr. Self-proclaimed atheist that thinks God promised the land of Israel 3,000 years ago. Yeah, I mean, of course, Bill Maher has never addressed that because he's a giant liar and a moron. God promised you land 3,000 years ago. You theoretically don't believe God exists. So does he exist and he promised it 3,000 years ago, or does he not exist? Or is your atheism just a cover story
I think
to
so.
smear and attack Muslims because you're a vicious racist?
Bingo, yeah.
And you're a piece of crap. And it is, by the way, Bill, this is really important. I'm gonna say this for the billionth time. I have Jewish family. I'm not saying that about you because you're Jewish. I'm saying that because you're a piece of crap. Don't blame other Jews for you being a filthy, disgusting racist. Don't put that on other Jews. It's just you, Bill. Okay, I just wanted to be clear about that. Boomer Dragon Cat says, this is a sick joke. No treaty terms will ever satisfy Trump. How long will we continue this farcical game? You're absolutely right. Iran keeps offering to give up their enrichment, and Trump's like, and then what do you think, Bibi? Don't release the tank, I'm so scared, Bibi, please. It was a 13. I don't know. Anyways, and he goes, no, not good enough, and he ripped up the last offer because he works for Israel. Dr. Gonzo says, as someone who spent a lot of time in Cuba, my ex-husband is Cuban, I'm absolutely disgusted by how the American government is treating Cuba. Cuban people are the sweetest people who would give you the shirt off their back, and your government is starving them to death. Your government is starving innocent children and honest, hardworking folks. Back on TYT, more news.
We got to talk about Ben Shapiro's latest Cope stream, which was quite a doozy. So let's get into it. As the Daily Wire has some business troubles, if you want to put it generously, Ben Shapiro has a message for his detractors. All the haters can kiss my ass. At least that was one of his latest posts and the topic and theme of one of his latest streams. Before we get to the details, Jake, your 2 cents.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to discussing his insults towards the rest of the right wing, but especially Megyn Kelly. That caught my attention. He does his usual spiel of everyone's an anti-Semite, but you have to hate the Muslims. Okay, so we'll get to that as well. But why are they losing so much audience? That's really the key. And what is the future of the Republican Party? He discusses this in this video, and then Anna and I will discuss what we think is the future of the Republican Party, given the numbers and the phenomenon that we're seeing.
Yeah, we're young conservatives, hearts and minds are at. So Let's just begin with this really well done piece by Ross Barkan over at New York Magazine. So the piece kind of delves into why the Daily Wire is now struggling as a business, and it gives a number of different reasons. The Daily Wire is instituting significant layoffs. Its website has emerged as one of the great traffic losers in conservative media. The Daily Wire is instituting significant layoffs. That's my voice. Okay,
Sorry about
it's okay.
That. Sorry.
So he writes that the Daily Wire is instituting significant layoffs. Its website has emerged as one of the great traffic losers in conservative media. Meanwhile, the company has seen its subscriber base on YouTube starting to shrink. And that's all very true. In fact, let's take a quick look at this graph by the Social Blade. And it shows you that despite a small bump in viewership in October of 2025, Daily Wire subscriber numbers have all but plateaued. In fact, they've gone down. There are Daily Wire YouTube videos that now, after a few days online, have less than 10,000 views, a catastrophically small number for a channel with more than 3 million subscribers. The top comments all mock the low view counts. So, you have to, I'll read one more graphic just to kind of hone in on how bad things are over at the Daily Wire. So the cuts arrive as third-party analytics data point to a sharp erosion in Ben Shapiro's digital reach, with his YouTube channel shedding an estimated 85% of its monthly viewership from a late 2023 peak. Now, Barkan gets into the various reasons why the Daily Wire's viewership has declined so significantly. But one of the main reasons is that the conservative Republican ideology that Ben Shapiro, represents is no longer in vogue with young conservatives, right? Young conservatives are a little more privy to the reality of Israel wanting to use our soldiers as cannon fodder. They want to drive this country deeper and deeper into debt so we can fund their war, so they can expand their empire, and they're just not buying it. They're not into it. So here's Ben Shapiro attacking the very conservative commentators and individuals who are kind of in the know about where the hearts and minds of young conservatives are at, especially when it comes to our relationship with Israel. Let's go to F1.
Well, according to New York Magazine, the future of conservatism isn't traditional conservatism, like free markets, like equal rights before law, like checks and balances, like traditional virtue. That's done. The future, according to New York Magazine, is Nick Fuentes, confirmed Nazi stan and woman hater, and man who will never be able to get a human woman pregnant through natural means. Or Tucker Carlson, confirmed anti-capitalist and Muslim apologist and victim of demon scratching. Or maybe Candace Owens, the confirmed slanderer of widows and connoisseur of French testicles. Or maybe Megyn Kelly, click whoring Grandma Groiper over there. Well, New York Magazine writes, quote, the collapse of the Daily Wire can be seen as a dire warning for traditional Republicans. There are two realities to Shapiro conservatism in 2026. It retains a significant foothold among Republican elites, and it is being fast rejected by the future grassroots of the party.
That reporting's accurate. I mean, you just look at the divide within the conservative movement between younger conservatives versus older conservatives. And the younger conservatives are a little more knowledgeable about what's actually happening with our alliance with Israel, and they don't like it. They don't want to go to war on behalf of Israel. They don't want this country to go deeper and deeper into debt to pay for Israel's wars. And what is Ben Shapiro other than a propagandist for a foreign nation state, Israel? So yeah, I think that's having a huge impact on your viewership, Ben. I think you know it too, but you're delusional about it.
Yeah, I don't even think he's delusional because of the end of the video. So first, caveats here. Look, I have tremendous sympathy for the folks who were laid off. So they didn't have it coming. It's not their fault. They didn't manage the company. They didn't decide to back Israel's genocide. Ben decided that. You don't know the people working there. And plus, it's a super tough industry. And I have sympathy for his complaints about the algorithms these days because they are wild. And I went and looked at his videos. No, he has a lot of videos that do very, very poorly, but he has a bunch of videos that also do well, right? And so a lot of channels are now experiencing, and I've now seen it on some other left-wing channels, this big yo-yoing. So I get the context of it, and I understand that it's not just the content, that the algorithms are making it go faster and more severe consequences of when you lose subscribers, etc. So I get all of that, and I feel terrible for the people who were laid off. Now, having said that, is there a phenomenon where his audience is actively rejecting him? There's no question. There's no question about that, and he knows it because at the end of the video, he keeps saying, is the future of the Republican Party these Nazis, the Islam lovers, blah 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 blah, anti-Semites, blah, blah. And he basically says it might be, and he never goes back to, or it might be us, because I think he realizes he's lost, right? And so all these over-the-top insults isn't helping either. Millions of people watch Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, etc. And what was the big break between him and Megyn Kelly? He demanded that she condemn everyone who has criticized Israel.
Candace Owens specifically, yeah.
And Tucker Carlson,
yeah.
Right? And he lectured her and he said, you better do as I tell you.
At her own event, by the way.
Yeah, and you better condemn anyone who criticizes Israel. So now, because she wouldn't condemn other people criticizing Israel, she's a click whoring grandma groiper.
Disgusting.
That's what you could rewind and watch him say that. So, oh, haha, I'm taking a shot at her age. Groiper means I'm calling you a Nazi and I'm calling you a whore because you wouldn't bow your head to Israel. Gee, I wonder why you're losing your audience, Ben.
I gotta say, calling women whores seems to be a favorite among Zionists. And I'm not kidding. Like, they love to call you a whore, a slut. I mean, she's a married woman. Like, why would you call her that? Like, what indication do you have that she is that? She's not at all. But on top of that, of course, grandma, right? Taking jabs at her age. I hope to God I look as good as she does when I'm her age, okay? But look, there's no bottom when it comes to attacking someone who has crossed the precious foreign country of Israel. Anyway, let's go to the next video where Shapiro decides to defend the Daily Wire by citing the Trump administration.
According to PodTrack, our podcast reach is 41 million people per month. We're ranked 6th globally. We have a total of 11 shows. Paramount, to take an example from that same chart, is ranked 4th globally. They have 145 shows. So on a per capita basis, we're killing it. We are responsible for the 2 most successful conservative documentaries in history, Matt Walsh's Am I Racist and What is a Woman? Just this week, Vice President Vance was quoting our reporting in his fraud investigations, and our White House correspondent, Mary Margaret Olahan, is in the press room asking questions.
So you're being rewarded by the administration that you are celebrating because they're doing exactly what you want with Israel and Iran. Why, like, no one's surprised by that. Yes, we get it. Now say something against the administration and see how fast your White House reporter is rejected when it comes to credentials.
Yeah, but Anna, so that's where it's really interesting. So his YouTube numbers have plummeted. He used to be #1 on Facebook all the time. He was great friends with Mark Zuckerberg. They would go and have dinner all the time. So people didn't know if Facebook was putting a thumb on the scale. A lot of people suspected that. It's pro-Israel content and he's really great friends with the owner of the platform, etc. But whatever happened in the past is not happening today. So whether it's organic or not, his Facebook presence is obliterated. He's sinking in the podcasting, but still holding strong, as he is said there, but still going down. Now, but the context is super important, guys. He raised hundreds of millions of dollars and then he blew it. Yep. And now they're looking for new money. And that is why he brags about, JD Vance and Donald Trump still listen to us, because the people who give him money don't care if he makes a profit. They don't really care about anything but getting Israel's agenda to be America's agenda. So what he's signaling his investors there is, no, we're still good value. It doesn't matter that the American voters aren't listening to us anymore. We still have the government captured and we're pumping it straight into the vice president and the presidency here. So still give me money, even though no one else is watching.
So Cenk, earlier you made a really good point about the YouTube algorithm and the yo-yoing numbers, and you're absolutely right about that. I've noticed the same thing. But I think what makes the Daily Wire different from other operations is other operations are usually very small. They don't have the bells and whistles. Usually it's 1 or 2 content creators who don't have much overhead. But in the case of the Daily Wire, we learned through Ross Barkan's reporting in New York Magazine that perhaps the most financially devastating hit to the company was the world of film, where despite a moderately successful return on a Matt Walsh documentary, they would go on to spend $3 million per episode on a fantasy series. So they got a tremendous amount of money, which they then squandered on nonsense. So they couldn't withstand the algorithmic changes, in addition to the loss in popularity because of Ben Shapiro's admiration and devotion to Israel, first and foremost. I'm gonna go to one more video. So in this one, he talks, well, I'm not gonna give too much away. Let's take a look.
I'm betting that there are way more people in America who believe in truth and virtue and freedom than people who revel in grievance and demoralization and stupidity. And again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we lose. But here's the thing. That also doesn't change a thing. It doesn't change a thing. It doesn't matter. Because the only thing that matters is the only thing that has ever mattered to me. Speaking the truth, whether people like it or whether they don't. Because facts still don't care about your feelings. This is the Ben Shapiro Show.
Bold claim, considering the fact that he allows his feelings to get in the way when it comes to foreign policy related to Israel all the time. Final word from you, Cenk.
Yeah, so 3 million per video. Which rocket scientist thought that you could make up 3 million in revenue for a YouTube video? Do you know how bad you have to be at this business to think that that was gonna work? And then they were trying to compete with Netflix on kids programming. With how many billions of dollars are you going to do that? My guess as to why they tried that was like, we'll show Miss Rachel. We'll do pro-genocide kids content.
They'll love it.
And they'll love it. Turns out they didn't love it, okay? True. And lastly, he said, you guys are, all these other people are betraying traditional values and traditional conservatism. And that's why he was actually upset, not about Israel, but about traditional conservatism. That's why he went around calling everyone Nazis and groypers and whores.
And demands that we go further in debt to fund a foreign country's war.
Huh, weird. We'll be right back.
Hey, do you want to participate in Member Mondays and have live on-air conversations with Cenk? Well, if you're a TYT member, you can. And that applies whether you're on tyt.com or YouTube or Twitch. Just go to this website, tyt.com/call. If you're not a member on YouTube, Twitch, or tyt.com, well, you can sign up on tyt.com right here. Otherwise, if you're already a member somewhere, click instructions. Now scroll down. And the first thing you'll see is that you need Discord. What is Discord? Discord is basically a messaging app for internet communities. It has all these different channels where you can send messages or even hop on voice calls and talk to people. We have what's called our own Discord server. And the first step is to download Discord. So back at tyt.com/call, just click on discord.com or the links for the app stores. But if you're on desktop, you just click download and then it'll download over here. Click on the link and you'll download and install Discord. It'll look something like this. Now you need to get the TYT Discord server. So at tyt.com/call, you'll see there's a direct link toward it. Click on TYT's Discord channel. And it'll take you right here. Bingo, bango, welcome. You'll see all the values and policies and everything. Now you need to connect your subscription to Discord so Discord knows you are a member someplace on the internet. If you're on YouTube or Twitch, just click user settings in this little gear wheel. Then in the menu, find where it says connections. Once you clicked on connections, click this little view more button and you'll see YouTube and Twitch. If you're a YouTube member, click the YouTube icon. If you're a Twitch member, click the Twitch icon. Once you click, it'll open a login window and just select the email address that you use for your paid membership on YouTube or Twitch. Once you've logged in successfully, it'll give you a little message that says it's connected. At that point, you'll probably have to close Discord and reopen it, but you will see here that you are connected on Twitch or YouTube. If you're a TYT.com member, it's slightly different, but it's still very easy. If you're a TYT.com member, just scroll through the channels till you see the Verify Me channel. Click on that and enter the username that you use on TYT.com. Once you do that, a member of our customer service team will verify that you are a member on TYT.com and tell you, all set, thank you for your membership. Once you see that, you've done it. You may need to just shut down Discord, then reopen it, and you'll see all these little locked members channels. All right, so let's say it's the day of the show and you want to participate in Member Mondays. All you need to do is scroll down until you see the channel called Member Mondays Live. Click on it to enter the audience. When you're in the audience, you'll look like this. You'll be under where it says Audience. If you want to participate in the show and be on stage with Cenk, just click this little icon that says Request to Speak. And don't forget to open the chat by clicking on this little conversation bubble. And you'll be able to follow the chat as it happens and talk to Kara and try to get on stage. If Kara pulls you on stage, she'll basically just make you speak on stage. And you'll be up here and you'll be live and you'll see Cenk up here with you and Kara up here with you. Don't forget to unmute yourself so you can talk. Blah-de-blah-de-blah-de-blah-de-blah. You'll see that it's working if there's a little green thing around your face as you're talking. And yes, I'm Megan McCain on Discord. Once you're done, you can disconnect, hang up, or Carl will move you off stage. If you're having trouble hearing or seeing, you can just click these little buttons and change what your input is and change what your output is. I'm a total dork, so I have way more inputs and outputs than you do. But that's it. I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial on how to participate in Member Mondays. See you Monday and have a great day.
All right, back on the revolution, but today is Member Mondays, so we are going to take your calls, tyt.com/call. Brett Ehrlich's very soothing voice just told you how to call in. So the topic today is if you were president for a day or if you were in charge for a day, what would you do? So let's dive right in. Kara, who's up? That sounds like Brett's tutorial still on. All right, do we have Kara on? No, we're having technical issues. Today's technical issue day. All right, well, I'll tell you about how to get our government back. Do you want that? Here, let me read a couple of comments and then I'll get to that depending on how we're doing here and fixing these things. Box wrote in, YouTube member, I came up through YouTube's golden age of atheism. I never noticed at the time, but Sam Harris and Bill Maher never really went in on Judaism. It all makes sense now. Actually, Box, back then, I debated Sam Harris. That's still on YouTube. Still got, you can check it out. It was a 3-4 hour debate and discussion. And I remember a lot of the New Age atheists were saying like, oh my God, Cenk is so wrong. He got owned by Sam Harris. Of course, Muslims are worse than everyone. And if you were a real atheist, you would hate one religion more than the other religions. I was like, are you guys dense? Do you not understand words in the English language? And there was a craze at the time. So now people looking back at that debate and go, oh my God, obviously I was right. I mean, you go back and watch it now. It's absurd to say I'm an atheist, but I like Judaism and I hate Islam. That's not a thing. That's just you being a douche. Okay, anyways. All right, Cara, now that we got it straightened out, who's on first? I know who.
All right, we have our original member Monday, who is eclectic.
Ooh.
Wants to talk about what he would do if he were president for the day.
All right, I'm ready. Everybody's got a soothing voice today. I'm the only one who doesn't. All right, eclectic, what do you got?
Hello, Cenk. So what I would do is obviously make TYT the official media arm of the US government.
There you go.
but
wait, actually, I'm not sure I want that. Come to think of it. In fact, I definitely don't want that, but I appreciate the thought.
But seriously, it would be to get money out of politics, of course. That makes everything else possible. Corporations are not people, despite what Mitt Romney might think. And if we don't have dark money or AIPAC going against Nina Turner or Jamal Bowman or Thomas Massie, then that gets rid of 90% of our problems.
Yeah, no, look, that's obviously the correct answer. So people got to get creative on coming up with the second answer. So of course, if I was president for a day, I'd pass probably 2 constitutional amendments. One to get money out of politics, meaning that that corporations can't give money to politicians and foreign governments can't, et cetera. Basically do public financing instead of private financing of elections. And the second amendment I do is a little bit more controversial in legal circles, but not in the real world and not with Americans, which is end corporate personhood. Corporations are not people, they're not human beings. They should have absolutely no constitutional rights. They should have the rights that we decide to give them since they are legal fictions. So Eclectic starts us off with the correct answer on what to do if you were president for a day. Before I go on to others, Eclectic, did you have a second one since that one's the runaway winner?
I was thinking in terms of maybe asking you, and you may be doing this later anyway, but I agree that that's the single most thing that will help. But I'm worried more and more that that's not enough, that there's just so much control over the media, that even getting money out of politics, they're still gonna have some control in terms of the news they give us, that we won't find out who the best candidates are, for example. We won't really find out what's happening in Palestine. So do you think that that's enough?
Okay, great question. So when we first started talking about the amount of power that the Israeli lobby had in America, I've said many times, and still to this day, that Israel is the tip of the iceberg. It's not the iceberg. Money in politics is the iceberg. Israel just happened to take advantage of the money in politics situation. Now, having covered this conflict for 3 years now, I now see that I did not realize the level of control over our media that Israel had earlier. I just didn't know it. I knew that they had a lot of influence in the media. I knew you'd get in trouble if you criticized Israel, but I didn't realize the level at which they totally control our mainstream media. So now it's not as clear as Congress. Congress, they literally bribe them. They give them campaign contributions. Those are the legalized bribes because of money in politics. That is crystal clear. They give them hundreds of millions of dollars, collectively billions of dollars, and then they get back hundreds of billions of dollars. So anyone denying that that's why they're bribing our officials, or that it's not a bribe, it's for the general charity of America, is an obvious liar, right? I don't care what kind of accusations they come with. I don't care what they're pretending to be. If they're pretending to be a reporter, if you say that AIPAC and the Israeli lobby is not trying to control Congress, you're an obvious liar. There's no disputing that. I would debate that, challenge any cable news host. If you'd like to have a debate about how stupid you are for saying that lobbyists are not trying to buy our politicians, that those aren't bribes, those are just tiny little influence, but the politicians are so principled and honest that they're working for their voters. Please, I would have that debate and I would wipe the floor with anyone. You could be the world's greatest debater and I would maul you on that issue because the facts are overwhelmingly on my side. The media was not as clear, but now I see, no, basically what Israel has done is set up a network inside this country where they have these, what I'm calling a Gestapo, you can call it anything you like, but their job is to find out anyone criticizing Israel, and it's as low as just total random American employees at companies. They scour the internet. If you've criticized Israel, they come and try to find you and they try to get you fired. There's a whole network of them inside this country, and their job is to brutalize and terrorize anyone who doesn't support Israel. Now, they do it more to Muslims and they do it more to Christian Arabs as well as Muslim Arabs, right? But they do it to average Americans too. And I've now seen, and they even do it to Jewish Americans. So they terrorize these people, but that's nothing compared to what they do to media figures. If anyone in media criticizes Israel my whole life, that network that I didn't previously realize existed gets activated. And they have super powerful people inside that network, including guys like Larry Ellison, who are buying the networks. So these are indisputable facts. Larry Ellison is the #1 donor to the IDF, and they have talked publicly about how they're trying to help Israel. Netanyahu has talked about how they're trying to help Israel in buying TikTok, Warner Brothers, Paramount, CNN, CBS. And will Larry Ellison fire anyone who criticizes Israel? Of course he will, of course. That's the point of buying those outlets. But even before Larry Ellison bought those outlets, there was that same terror network inside our country who targeted and tried to eliminate any opponent of Israel, especially in the media. And they were astoundingly successful. They eliminated any politician and almost any media figure that criticized Israel until recently. Now their control and their monopoly is breaking down. That's why they're in this frenzied cycle of calling almost all Americans anti-Semites. The right wing is Nazi anti-Semites, the left wing is Nazi anti-Semites. 61% of the country is Nazi anti-Semites. You're all anti-Semites, you're being canceled. The terrorists tell us, right? So I know getting money out of politics isn't gonna solve that. But that one, the internet has begun to solve it, Eclectic, and to everybody out there. So as we now wake up to the reality of these thugs that have been working inside our country to betray America, to terrorize our citizens, to get them to work for Israel, we also realize that the reason we're seeing them now is because online media exists. Before, mainstream media never let you see them, never talked about them, hid them. To this day, mainstream media pretends that groups like Canary Mission and StopAntisemitism.com are good guys trying to protect Jewish people, when in fact they target Jewish Americans as long as they're criticizing Israel. So Jake Tapper, that quotes them all the time, is a giant liar. He helps that Gestapo terrorize innocent Americans and helps them smear and ruin their lives. And then you've got guys, well, anyways, people like Laura Loomer and Mark Levin and others who say, yeah, let's ruin their lives. Let's deport them out of the country. That's totally illegal for citizens, including myself. Laura Loomer's talked about destroying my family and Anna's family, and they find that to be perfectly normal. Jake Tapper never criticizes that kind of terrorism. Bill Maher on Friday defended that kind of terrorism and pretended that Randy Fine isn't doing it, that he isn't a barbaric creature who said we should murder everyone in Gaza, but the terrorist network has to protect all the other terrorists inside the country, because murdering Muslims, they say, is not terrorism. It's only terrorism if you murder Israelis, but if you murder innocent Palestinians or Lebanese or Iranians, that's not terrorism because Muslim lives are irrelevant. says the terrorist Israeli network inside our country that has totally intimidated, bullied, and oppressed our media, at least the ones that weren't already bought and on the side of Israel. So online media is destroying that mainstream media. That's why they're so mad. That's why they're calling the whole country anti-Semites. That's why they're trying to destroy any and all Americans who oppose them, because they realize time's running out. Online media is winning, and when online media wins sufficiently enough, we will actually get money out of politics, and that is their number one fear. Oh my God, if you end a system of bribery and corruption, Israel won't be able to buy all of our politicians, let alone big pharma, big oil, the defense contractors, and all the other corporations that everyone on cable news loves and adores and serves loyally. How come Jake Tapper or Dana Bash or Wolf Blitzer or Rachel Maddow or Greg Gutfeld or Jesse Waters or any of them, how come they never do segments about what do you mean we can't negotiate drug prices? How is that capitalism? And that costs us trillions of dollars. How are we gonna pay for that? Whenever it's healthcare for you, since Jake Tapper hates you and Anderson Cooper hates you, they go, how are you gonna pay for that? That's for stupid Americans. We don't want it for stupid Americans. Give it to Israel. Give it to big pharma. Give it to big oil. Otherwise, you're all anti-Semites. So that's not gonna last. People don't wanna be terrorized by the people that are pretending to be their journalists on television. So eventually, as much as those guys loathe the average American now feels the same way and loathes them back. There's still tons of people watching television. So don't think that it's over. It's going to be a mighty battle in 2028. Television still brainwashes a huge percentage of Americans into believing that money in politics is no big deal and that bribery is normal and corruption is awesome. And on top of that, Israel's corruption is the best corruption. And if you factually point out their corruption, well, we'll ruin you and destroy your life because we're the good guys, they say. No, everybody's onto you. You're the bad guys. You're destroying our democracy. You've destroyed our media already. And you do nothing but propaganda. All right, you got me worked up. Thank you for the call. Appreciate it.
Thank you for.
Oh, sorry. He was about to say something. That's all right. You call back another day. Love to have you. Carl, who's next? Oh, Eclectic's next. What were you gonna say, brother?
Yeah, I was just saying thank you for staying strong in spite of all the gaslighting and terrorizing. Thank you for doing that for us.
Oh, thank you, brother. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's an honor to fight the most evil force on earth. An absolute honor to fight them on behalf of the powerless, who they oppress every single day. And if they wind up destroying me somehow, it was worth it for the privilege and honor of fighting them, fighting true evil in our times. Okay, if you're offended by that, I don't care at all. I don't care if the Germans were offended when we were fighting the Nazis. Don't care. Try not to be a Nazi. Okay, who's next?
Ryan from New Hampshire's back.
Hey.
Hi, Jake and Kara, how are you?
Good.
If I was gonna be president for a day, the first thing I would do is challenge it in the courts and tell everybody that I'm gonna be president for a year and let the courts settle it. That way I can get something done.
That'll buy you a lot of time. That's actually really smart. Because it'll take a while to go through the courts. Yeah, good thinking.
Exactly. Next, I'll hold a press conference and announce to the Secret Service that you're being provided warning that I'm gonna sleep outside the Capitol building in a tent until my policies are passed. So prepare to start working on the security provisions. And I don't like to camp, but I'm gonna do that. Each day I'll wake up, I'll get my coffee, and I'm gonna be talking to congressional staff and lawmakers on their way into the building and describe my plans for gun reform, to limit the unnecessary gun deaths in the US and the recovery of illegal firearms. These plans will not diminish Second Amendment protections, and I'll describe how later, not on this call, obviously. But and I recognize that the Americans are free people first and foremost, and they almost always provide carrots or prefer carrots over sticks. So I have lots of carrot policies. And every day, like I said, I'm going to work to earn their support on the gun issue first, and then the money and politics issue second. And that's all I have. I want to go quickly so others can go. So thank you, Cenk. I'm going to jump off after this.
Thank you, brother. Over 90% of Americans want federal background checks. But as always, our government is too corrupt to give it to them because the NRA owns the Republican Party. And even though the great majority of Republicans want federal background checks because they want, like, people who believe in the Second Amendment, they're not lying. They truly believe in it. And they're not the bad guys. And so even if I disagree with them, I know that they don't want the bad guys to have guns either, right? That's why over 90% of the whole country want federal background checks just to make sure the bad guys aren't buying the guns. And our politicians go, no, the weapons manufacturers like it when bad guys buy guns and murder you and your family, because then you panic and you buy more guns and then your neighbors buy more guns and the bad guys buy more guns and everybody buys more guns. So they're pro-murder because they got bribed to be pro-murder. Yeah, you could win on that. You could win on that if you get money out of politics and if you have the bully pulpit, the world's largest microphone that the president has. One last thing before we go to someone else. So, when you said Secret Service is one of your first things that you're talking about, I thought that you were going to go in the direction that I thought. If I was president for a day, the very first thing I would do is talk to the Secret Service, because I want to make sure that the Secret Service is on my side, because they haven't always been. So I would be very, very meticulous about who's in the Secret Service. And were you in Butler? Who have you served before? Who do you get money from? Unfortunately, my faith in all government institutions have been utterly shattered, and Israel's terrorist network is so deeply entrenched inside America that you don't know who works for them. All right, who's next?
All right, we've got Killjoy 100 from Ohio.
Killjoy 100, I see your comments all the time. What's up?
Hey man, I actually called the other week, but I used my real name, so don't tell anyone.
Yeah, okay. All right, what do you got for me today?
If I were president for the day, I think my biggest issue, which should be everybody's issue in America, is daylight savings time. Why? Just why?
I like the idea of you doing the first press conference and just going, but why? Why? Yes. Do you know this, brother? Do you know that they accidentally killed daylight savings times once? I'm not joking, literally by accident, Congress did. And everyone celebrated. And then they were like, oh, we're so sorry. We didn't mean to do anything popular. And they reversed themselves.
I've heard it was actually the golf lobbies that don't want to lose the daylight of hours.
Yeah, the lobbyists came in and were like, what are you, nuts? Doing something the American people want? No, shut up and do what we want. And so they reversed a super popular bill because they accidentally did something that the American voters actually wanted.
I thought of one other thing really quick. I would revive the X-Files and have them check Stephen Miller's basement, because I'm pretty sure he's rubbing the lotion on down there.
Okay. Leave that one alone. Okay, I don't want to talk about Stephen Miller and lotion in the same sentence. But yeah, I would be shocked if Stephen Miller was loyal to this country. So there's a lot I would check about Stephen Miller. All right, good call, love it. Cara, who's next?
All right, we have Brandon from the bass fishing capital of the world, Okeechobee, Florida.
Hey, Brandon. All right.
We're trying to have Brent.
Yeah, let's unmute if you can. Almost. Winthrop 51 wrote in the YouTube member section, never underestimate Trump's ability to make things worse. That's a great way of putting it, brother. And that is so true.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can now, brother. Go ahead.
Oh crap! Almost.
No, we can hear you. Go ahead. Maybe he's having trouble hearing us.
Can you hear me now?
Yep. Can you hear us?
Things works.
That is so.
Oh, he's hearing on tape delay, so he can't hear me. All right.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say that if I was president for the day,
Go ahead. Go ahead. All right, we got to figure out the time delay on the stream and how it's throwing him off. Okay, another time. All right, we're almost out of time. Can we squeeze in someone else? And by the way, if you're members, don't sweat it. We also have Member Mondays, which is not just this, but the bonus episode. So in the bonus episode, that's just for members and members calling in. Still the same, tyt.com/call. And we'll do if you were present for a day. And by the way, any other call you want or question you want for the members in the bonus episode. So hit the join button below on YouTube or tyt.com/join. Cara, who's next?
Norman Sanchez from Binghamton, New York.
Hey, Norman.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yep.
Excellent. All right. Jake, I just want to say, thank you for holding us strong for so many years, you and all the TYT family, and for, trying to unite the countries right and left, because together I know that there's nothing that can stop us. So thank you. I was going to talk about something different, but I guess I'll get into if I can change something. So I think, you touched on a very good topic about how the Israeli influence has influenced our politician and also our media. I think another aspect is also they have influenced our spiritual leaders, especially the Christian community, And so I think if I had the power, I'll tell you about a situation that I had just a couple of days ago. If I had the power, I would let people know or inform the Christian community and other communities as well that the Islamic religion stems from Abraham. So his son Isaac, and let me just quick background. I'm new to the religion, so I've just been, going to church and learning about it because it's important to my girlfriend. We're about to have babies, so she asked if I could, try it out. I'm Catholic, but not very religious, so I'm trying it out. So I'm listening to the pastor, and we're talking about Genesis and how Abraham had his two sons, Ishmael and Isaac. Isaac was, he had a nation, the Jewish nation, and Ishmael had his nation, which ended up being the Islamic nation. So I'm thinking if they both had their nations, then Islam stems from Abraham. They both stem from Abraham. Then they should have a lot of similarities, They believe in the same God. When they pray, they're praying to the same God. And the same thing with the Christian faith when, stems from Judaism. So when I asked, about having a conversation with my girlfriend, I'm like, okay, so, and we're in church and we're singing Yahweh, which is the Jewish God. If we're singing the Jewish God's name, but they don't believe in Jesus and the Trinity, but that is our God, why isn't that the Muslim God? They're like, oh, because they don't believe in the Trinity and that Jesus died at the cross. I'm like, yes, but Yahweh is the God that you guys praise or that we praise. Why is that our God, but not the Islamic God? And they're like, oh, it's Allah. I'm like, no, Allah is just a word for God in Arabic. So it should be the same God. So I speak with the pastor and I'm telling him like, hey, these are all Abrahamic religions. So now I'm reading about it. These are Abrahamic religions.
Yeah.
And I'm getting peer review articles and things like that and how they are connected. And he's telling me it's more, I see it's like it's an emotional response. Like, no, it's not the same. It's not the same.
Yeah.
So,
that pastor, sorry, let me finish your thought and then I'll wait.
No, so he sends me a bunch of these, people that, people that write their, I guess, writing about it. And one gentleman had credentials. He went to college and to study Islamic faith. However, I looked at I researched about him, and he leans to the conservative, evangelical way. So, and then another one he sent me has a disclaimer and is just an evangelical view. So I'm like, all right, he's just sending me things that are opinions. So I have a conversation with him about it, and we're talking about Israel and stuff and the genocide, and of course he hits me with the question, well, do you think Israel has the right to exist? I'm like, of course they have the right to exist. So do the Palestinians, and everyone should be a two-state solution, and everyone should be free and leave each other alone. And and he's like, everyone has their guns towards them. I was like, but if that's how you feel, everyone wants to kill the Jewish population. Where do you think, after Israel in the Middle East, where is the highest population of Jewish people? And he goes, Jordan. I'm like, wrong. It's in Iran. So that notion that everyone wants to kill the Jews is not true. Yeah. And so he wanted to find out where I got these information, and I sent him all that information. So that was my thing. And also, I actually went, before I had a conversation with him the second time where I gave him all these facts, I went to a mosque and I spoke to the imam there, gentleman named Muhammad Pipi, great guy. He was really nice. And we spoke, I said, hey, everything stems from Abraham. Are you guys praying to the same God? He's like, the same God that Abraham had and Moses had, that is our God as well. And we had a conversation for half an hour. And so I went back to the pastor and I told him. But he was very stubborn.
Yeah. So look, I appreciate the call, and you brought up a lot of good topics there. So unfortunately, a lot of pastors and preachers in this country are literally bribed by Israel. So they get bribed in different ways. But the most common way is all expense paid trip to Israel, like basically a week-long vacation. Now, what they don't know is they're very likely being taped there too, and getting probably some blackmail on top. But the fact that they've been doing junkets for all those preachers to butter them up so that they do propaganda for Israel is a very well-known fact, and has now been exposed. So they're basically paying your Christian pastors and preachers to lie to you and to get you to support Israel so that you'll hand over your money and your taxes to Israel. And it's a great investment, super smart. If I was a country that only cared about my own well-being, and as a country that's fair of them to care only about their own citizens and themselves, would I go and bribe the preachers of whichever religion of the most powerful nation? Would I go and bully and intimidate the media of that nation and then buy off their entire Congress if I could? Well, of course I would, because you're gonna spend a couple of $1 billion doing that. And they've already gotten back 320 billion at a minimum, but I think the $8 trillion of the global war on terror was spent purely on wars that Israel wanted, except Afghanistan. And so it's a logical thing that they do. And so now, as Americans, we should be super mad about that, because they're targeting us. They're targeting us to manipulate us, to take our money and our military and use it for their benefit. I get that they're trying to do that for their own benefit, but our benefit is to not let them, okay? But unfortunately, we've lost our government, we've lost our media, and we've even lost our religious leaders. So to the content of what you're saying, Muslims view the Quran as the third book, the Old Testament, the New Testament, and the Quran. And so do they view the God that they pray to, worship, as the same God as Christians? Absolutely. Allah, as you said very accurately, so it just means God in Arabic. So they're praying to God, that's all. And Jesus is one of the most holy prophets in Islam. And when the world is saved, Muhammad doesn't come back, Jesus does in the Quran. So Jesus couldn't be more holy in the Quran. So there's slight differences in, hey, do you believe in the Trinity or not? And by the way, there's differences between the Catholics and the Protestants on those issues. But the Muslims couldn't be any closer to Christians. So why do people think that they're not, Well, that's because our media has done propaganda for the express purpose of getting you to hate Muslims. And the preachers and the pastors have been bribed to get you to hate Muslims. And so, since I grew up Muslim, my family and myself, and now currently my family with my kids, etc., and my wife, we have been the targets of this kind of propaganda and honestly terrorism, because they're terrorizing us inside our own country. And then whenever you complain about it, they go, no, that either didn't happen to you, although it's a verifiable fact, you could see it online, right? Or we don't care. You're not an important person. You're just a stupid Muslim or a stupid atheist. We don't care about you at all. You're not in favor of Israel. You're not Israeli. So you're not important. You don't count. It's like telling a civil rights worker who got hot coffee thrown in their face in the South during Martin Luther King's protests, etc. We don't believe you. We don't think that coffee was thrown in your face, or if it was thrown in your face, or dogs mauled you. We don't care. You're not fully human. No, in fact, we think you're offending the white people down in Alabama who used the dogs to maul you. You're being racist against the white people. You're hurting the white people's feelings back then in the 1950s and 60s. In fact, go back 1920s, you're offending white people for complaining about lynching. How dare you complain about lynching? Know your role. That is what, at the time, racist white people told Black Americans. Now we have racist Israeli supporters telling Muslims, who cares if we terrorized you? Who cares if we told everyone to hate you? You don't count at all. We're not gonna listen to you. Not only that, we're gonna double lynch you. Now we're gonna call you an anti-Semite, and we're gonna say, we're not the bigots, you're the bigot, and your life should be destroyed. But I'm the good guy. I'm the good guy, they say. No, they're not the good guys. They're a terrorist network inside our country who are bribed almost everyone in sight to make sure that America serves this tiny pipsqueak country the size of Papua New Guinea. And they have us by the balls, and they keep squeezing harder and harder. And every time you complain, they go, shut up, American, you're an anti-Semite. We cancel you, we ruin you. Yes, that's what you look like. That's what I've had to deal with. That's what my family has gone through. So don't tell me it didn't happen, or I'm not human enough, and then call me an anti-Semite because you guys have been, and when I say you guys, I mean Israel supporters, because my Jewish friends and family, I don't have anything to do with this. And neither do a majority of Jews in this country. But yes, there are Israel supporters inside this country that viciously attack anyone who isn't in their religion and who doesn't bow down to Israel. And then they double attack them. Anytime they complain, they say, we should eliminate them. They haven't kneeled to Israel. That's the kind of ugliness that I have experienced. And then the entire time they say, no, you're the bad guy. The victims are the bad guys. You should accept your digital lynching, your political lynching, your career lynching, because you haven't served Israel, and so you're the bad guy, you're the immoral guy. Can you see? I'm super pissed off about it. I'm tired of nonstop, overwhelming tsunami of Israeli propaganda, constantly calling all of us anti-Semites when we've said 1 billion times, it isn't about Jewish people. We love our Jewish brothers and sisters. And they're like, shut up, anti-Semite. Okay, well then you're a effing liar. And you are the terrorist. You are the disgusting propagandist who not only blame all non-Jewish Americans, but on top of that, endanger Jewish Americans, pretending to speak for them when you attack everyone else. Okay, so is there anything that Israel hasn't bought in this country? Any leader they haven't corrupted? Don't tell me they're not doing it when it's a stone cold fact that they're doing. Don't tell me that they didn't try to get every American to hate Muslims, because that's exactly what they did my whole life. These disgusting bigots going around calling everyone else an anti-Semite as they spread hatred and hatred and hatred in this country, and then pretend to be the victims. I'm sick of it. All right, look, I had more. Let's go to the member-only section, and the members stay on, and you guys can call in. I don't know if I could stand to debate one more Israeli. Every time you go to talk to them, they're the most arrogant people on earth. They're constantly like, oh, the Palestinians, so what that we killed 73,000 of them? That's what they do every time. And then you want me to treat you like you're some sort of god? No, you're the Nazis. You're the terrorists. You're the fascists of today. You're the ones who say that Palestinian babies should be murdered. 1,000 babies murdered, 23,000 kids murdered in Gaza. And Israel supporters say that's not a problem at all, at all. Only the people who object are the problem. Well, when you say that, you're declaring yourself a terrorist and a fascist, and you should know it, Young Turks.